And ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the prosecution is not going to get that man today. No, because I'm going to get him.
This is the Hagmann and Hagmann Report for today. It's Monday, January 21st, 2013. I'm Doug Hagmann. With me is my co-host, Joe Hagmann. He's my son, and folks, you're about to hear 3 hours of unbiased, uncensored news, analysis, and information that you need to know in these perilous times in which we live. Folks, you can find us on the internet at HomelandSecurityUS.com. And, of course, we broadcast every night from 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can access our audio stream, HomelandSecurityUS.com. And if it sounds like I'm talking through a bushel, don't adjust your audio settings. That's me. Joe, welcome to the program.
Glad to have you back. I know you're not 100%.
No.
But it is good to have you back. And as we talked before the show, if you start losing your voice, start crying or whatever reason, you can have the night off. But no, I'm glad you're back. We got a lot to get into tonight.
I just want to thank. Yeah, Joe, I just want to say, just take a second. I want to thank everyone for their prayers and my goodness, Steve and all of you folks. Talking about prayer warriors, I don't know. I just felt this overwhelming sense of protection. And I know it sounds weird, but I believe in the power of prayer. But I'll tell you, protection or this hand of God type of embrace, if you will. And let me just tell you this. On Thursday, I think it was a Thursday or Friday. One of those days when you came over.
Friday,
just to visit. And I had my fever peaked at 104.5, and it was we were talking, and the folks, it's so weird. I thought I was having a stroke because
he was trying to talk.
I was trying.
He wasn't talking coherently.
I knew what I wanted to say, but it would come out like banana cart. Texas, something totally weird. And I thought, oh my gosh, it scared me. I thought, oh man, here I go.
Yeah, not enough to go to the hospital, but.
Well, that's certainly one would have. But in the end, it was dehydration and I didn't know that, but dehydration can cause you to do that. So, folks, if you have the flu, and let me tell you, this stuff is bad news. If you've got the flu, drink a lot of water. Because or juice or water or whatever you need to drink, but keep that brain soaking in something.
There's some excellent flu remedies you can find on the internet.
Yeah.
Natural stuff. People sent things, information, different, things like apple cider vinegar and lemon juice and different concoctions that you can have, things you have at home to drink, and that will help clear that up. So,
yeah. And let me tell you, this stuff that's going around right now is the worst. I talked to my doctor, and he said he's never seen it so bad ever in all of his years of practice. So just take care of yourself right now. I think physically we need to all take care. We need to take care of ourselves, but because we're in this. This is a marathon, not a sprint that we're in, and we have to treat it as a marathon, not a sprint.
That's right.
So, and like I said, if I do drop off, it's going to be because, hey, you're going to live to play another day, work another day, attack another day tomorrow. So,
yeah.
And I want to thank you for doing that. But yeah, you did some wonderful show prep. You did wonderful show prep.
And also, another reason we could cut off is the 100 and some inches of snow we're currently receiving. I don't know where everybody's listening from, but a lot of the places around the lakes, the Great Lakes, are getting hit pretty hard, and it's coming down bad right now. I mean, shovel 2 hours later, another 4 or 5 inches, got to shovel again. And they're calling for up to 20 inches by Wednesday.
So it's going to be like 8 feet on the ground all at once, or I shouldn't say 8 feet, about 4.5, 5 feet. Yeah,
it's going to be fun.
But
probably the best part of the whole bad news scenario we have going on in our nation, we got another 4 more years of Obama and his minions unhinged, as the inauguration officially today was completed. And an inauguration, if you would call it that, or a ritual, or a worship service for this tyrant, as the headlines are coming out, what he has said during the inauguration. And it's surprising, but not really, because we know he has no re-election, at least in America, to come up against. And there's a headline on Judge, 1,461 more days. And what he said during his inauguration address was what I expected to see. They're going to start really stepping it up. They're going to act on climate change. They're going to act on immigration. They're going to act on spending. And not spending cuts. They're going to spend more. And what he's calling for is a liberal agenda, as he puts it. But it's anything but liberal. It is a tyrannical, authoritarian, evil plan, and they are going to do their best to pull it off in the time he is in office. We have headlines. We're not going to play any audio from the inauguration. Thank goodness I didn't watch it. Didn't want to watch it. But some of the things that were done, there were free speech zones in the inauguration path. And his walk on the parade route, Obama, after being inaugurated, went and drove around a little bit. But in that driving around, there were free speech zones set up at the Freedom Plaza, and that's the site of the only authorized demonstration zone. Everywhere else, I guess, you didn't have free speech unless you were standing in the free speech zone, which is kind of creepy to think about. Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do if you're not in a free speech zone and you yell something at them? Are you going to somebody going to come and arrest you and disappear you? What are the consequences? What does this nation come to where we have free speech zones? And anybody who would go there to protest, who would even go stand in a free speech zone? It's ridiculous. I wouldn't comply with that. I'd rather get arrested and speak my mind where I can. It's America. There is no free speech zone anymore, apparently. They designate them right now. But in reality, everywhere is a free speech zone. They don't designate that. You just say your mind, as long as, you're not calling for anything crazy, anywhere you want, no matter what the government tells you to do. But, things are changing.
This is something I think is one of the most underreported issues of the day that we need to look at. It's censorship. It's obviously First Amendment rights.
Yeah.
There's also some other constitutional liberties being attacked here. But think about this: if you want to protest a politician, you can't do it at the venue in which they speak. You have to do it at the venue in which you are told to do it, which could be a mile or more, 10 miles from the venue in which the elected official or elected person is scheduled to speak or speaking or whatever. This is to avoid the embarrassment or to offset any type of embarrassment, because this government knows they are afraid of us. I mean, I'm so glad you brought that free speech zone up, because it's anything but that. It's the restriction of speech, and restriction of assembly on everywhere else.
Yeah, just like the gun-free zones and the clampdown on the Second Amendment. They are they have systematically destroyed our rights of free speech, the free travel, to defend ourselves, and they are pushing hard, especially on the defending ourselves, labeling people who want to defend themselves or might find themselves in a position where they have to. They want to get a gun and just to make sure they're safe as crazies and terrorists. And we went over a little bit of the West Point PDF that came out talking about the violent far right when you were gone. I'm not sure how much of that you saw or read, but
I read some of that. Most of that, or I listened to all of it, read some of it.
Yeah, I mean, they are really going after Christians. They are going after gun owners. They are going after anti-federalism. And what they're doing is in the beginning, they link Christian identity to the Ku Klux Klan and Aryan nations, but I haven't got to the part. I've only read the first half of this, and apparently it really gets into detail about Christianity and what they see it as. And it is very terrible the way they word things, and it looks like it's a playbook for how they're going to go after people. Well, you believe this, okay, we're going to do this, and this is how we're being divided. This is how we're being labeled, marginalized, separated.
See, okay,
continue.
Do you believe at the core of this is occultism, if you will? I mean, I shouldn't say occultism. At the core, that's the wrong thing to say. One driving force behind this is this the spiritual bankruptcy. It's I guess occultism would fit in here. There's a lot of occult stuff going on. Because I was thinking today. Can you hear me? All right. Did I just cut out? Okay. I was thinking about this today. Yet another one sworn in facing the obelisk. And if you think about this, folks, ever since I think it was Ronald Reagan began this of the recent. I think Ronald Reagan began the process of taking the oath of office on Inauguration Day, facing the Washington Monument, and that has a meaning. And the Washington Monument has obviously a huge satanic meaning, occult meaning. And I never really hung my hat on any of this or believed this, but it's so because it was so in your face and so in the open. I would think, well, who would really care? I mean, really somebody's going to do this? Everything's out in the open, and so it really can't be true. But what I've been seeing now is we've got Obama being sworn in for the second time, or actually I guess it would be the fourth time.
What they're calling the second coming, the cover of Newsweek. Yeah. I don't know if you saw that.
Yep, and this kind of made me think of. Go ahead.
No, I don't know if you were cutting out or not.
I'm not sure.
Skype might be having issues too. We did a show. I was on a show 5 till midnight on Blog Talk Radio, and I was just riding shotgun as a guest host, and then we interviewed Larry Pratt today. He was talking about the Gun Owners of America, right? Head of Gun Owners of America, and he was talking about the demonic spiritual aspect of this. Also, he brought that up, and it was very interesting to hear him talk about this and other things that he mentioned. And hopefully we can get him on our show, and
I don't think I would
get into more detail.
Yeah, and I don't think I would have really made this an issue. I mean, to me, okay, I'm thinking, wait a minute, this really isn't an issue. And but then you see, but it is, especially when you see Newsweek coming out with the headline or the cover, and others, the second coming, and the artists, and the putting Obama as this Messiah, and darn well as the Messiah and the second coming. This is, I don't believe personally. I don't know, but I don't believe that he's the Antichrist by any stretch of the imagination. But I will say this: certainly the Antichrist spirit is so pervasive throughout Washington, throughout every part of our world. It's just incredible. So it really got me looking at this inauguration. Were the covers of Newsweek and the paintings and the portraying of Obama as the Messiah. So when I started looking at this, and I started looking at the Washington Monument, that being, of course, an obelisk. There's three of them. There's one in St. Peter's, Vatican. There's one in New York City and one in Washington, D.C. So 3 recognized obelisks. And this one, though, in Washington, was built to commemorate George Washington. All right, now, there's a lot of symbolism in that obelisk. And I'm not going to go through it all because we've got a lot of stuff to go through. But folks, if you look into that, holy cow. Seriously, there is some really some things going on there. And there's also, of course, when you've got that president taking the oath once again, facing the obelisk, it has occult meaning. And I just want people to understand that it has occult meaning to it. And it has occult significance to it. So don't openly dismiss out of hand what you think is just baloney because it sounds so whacked out, when in fact it's not.
Yeah, we have a new Chris Matthews. There was a CNN correspondent today at the inauguration, Jim Acosta, who said he feels like he should pinch himself right now as Obama walked by.
Chris Matthews said that.
No, this is a CNN correspondent. I feel like I should pinch myself right now. And Acosta later added that it's good to be the president. It's almost like being a rock star in every street corner of Washington on this day. But the hackiness of these news reporters, the joy that they get, knowing, they know he's destroying this nation.
Right.
But they don't care. They're just going along with it. And not only are they going along with it, some of them actually believe in what he's doing. There was a rapper that was part of a pre-inaugural concert. His name is Lupe Fiasco. He was ejected from the concert after an anti-Obama rant he went on, apparently singing a song on an anti-Obama song over and over, and they escorted him off there. That was last night. And also today, I don't know if this ceremony's over, this party or whatever you want to call it, Lady Gaga is going to be performing, at this inauguration. You talk about one of the most satanic people in openly in the music industry. And it's this person. Why is she there performing? It's disgusting to me. Why are they even having a party? They're having a multi-million-dollar, probably $100 million, $150 million party at the taxpayers' expense. Well, the economy is collapsing very slowly but surely as people are struggling to eat, struggling to find jobs. They're throwing themselves these lavish parties. What are you celebrating? In my opinion, they're celebrating, as he said, what they're going to do. They're going to finish what they started. And when he says they, he doesn't mean the American people in him. He means his overlords in him. They're going to finish what they started. And I sincerely believe that. 4 more years, I don't see it happening.
Well, I don't think it's going to happen at all. I don't see. We're not going to have another 4 years. And listen, folks. Well, Joe, I'm going to ask, before we move on to this, because we had Obama making that offhand comment about, and I watched it live. It was on New Year's Eve, folks. You remember that when he said, I'm going to be president for the next 4 years, I hope. And then he kind of chuckled. Remember that? That was that one. And then Biden said something about being pleased to be the president, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a second thing. And then there was a couple more things that indicated to me that there was some sort of knowledge or some feeling, at least, if not knowledge, that something wasn't right here.
Well, let me tell you this.
Go ahead.
The Lincoln, what they're doing, likening him to Lincoln.
Yeah.
Okay. We have Chris Matthews today came out and said Obama's second inaugural akin to Gettysburg Address. Barack Obama is perhaps the only modern president who has had the burden of swatting away comparisons between his own soaring rhetoric and that of our 16th president. You may recall, in the wake of the Newtown massacre, Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter David Marness gushed over the president's remarks, writing, "People will long remember what Barack Obama said in Newtown in his speech," calling the speech Obama's Gettysburg Address. Today, thanks to Chris Matthews, it took less than 5 minutes for the comparisons to be drawn between President Obama's second inaugural address and, well, all manner of things Lincoln. He said, "It reminds me of another second inaugural Lincoln. So much of Lincoln in that speech, from the Gettysburg Address to the second inauguration itself." Matthews said he talked about the government that we want, which is infrastructure, education, regulation, all the good things, and recognizing that government can't solve all the problems.
What does that mean? So what does this mean now? What does he mean when he's, there's a comparison between Lincoln, obviously, right?
Right. And what happened during Lincoln's presidency? We had a civil war, and Lincoln was assassinated.
Civil war, right.
Why are they referring him to Lincoln? Why is there a constant, this has been going on for months that we've seen them trying to make him out to be or have the spirit of Abraham Lincoln, which is puzzling. He was sworn in on the Lincoln Bible.
There's something going on here that's not right. I don't know what it is with respect to this Lincoln comparison and constant comparison with Lincoln. I think we've got to take a look at this very closely, because we're being set up for something. And folks, you can weigh in on this too. We're being set up for something. I'm sure of it.
And there was history made today at the inauguration. First inaugurational use of the word gay. President Obama on Monday became the first president to use the word gay in his inauguration address in reference to sexual orientation, making 2 references to gay rights as he began his second term. This is what he said: "Our journey is not complete until our gay brothers and sisters are treated like anyone else under the law. For if we are truly created equal, then surely the love we commit to one another must be equal as well." And I find it very
well, first of all,
just to remove references of different things. Have your media attack dogs attack the Bible, attack Jesus, attack the founding fathers, attack liberty lovers, people who want equality under the law. Yet they're taking all that away, but just saying, we need equality for gay men and women to be treated like everyone else. It's just hypocrisy. It's like him saying we need to pass gun laws to save children while he's killing children by funding Planned Parenthood and by killing with drone strikes thousands of people in other countries with no congressional approval.
Well, I think that yes.
And it's just ridiculous. And people do not see through this now. And the lines are drawn. I believe there are a few that are going to come back and cross the line to common sense, rational thinking, logic. I think the majority of the Obama supporters are far gone. There's a disconnect. People don't understand what is happening, and it's dangerous. This is the real current day Sodom and Gomorrah. Think about it. When we have a president getting inaugurated and, won't mention God, won't mention won't stand up for any freedoms of the people he doesn't like, only the freedoms for things he does want to get through, freedom to be a dictator, freedom to take your guns away, freedom to tell you where you can and can't say something, freedom to be imprisoned without any rights whatsoever. I find it very hypocritical, and it angers me to see this disconnect from the American people, not seeing, all the rights for some, yet none for others. And they're drawing the lines, as I said, they're marginalizing the opposition, and they're going to continue to do that.
Well, they are. I just wanted to grab my notes here, Joe. When I was still seeing monkeys a little bit, I was taking some notes. I'm not sure I can read them here, but one of the things that the 10 steps, 10 planks of Karl Marx, Communist Manifesto. Even the Bavarian Illuminati, if you will, Nazism, whatever, abolish private property, progressive graduated income tax, establish that.
Yeah.
Abolition of all. I can't even read my own writing, but in that 10-plank memo is to normalize the family, or to demonize the nuclear family, and to normalize the family of 2 men, 2 women, and mixed marriages. When I say mixed, that's the wrong word. Homosexuality is normal. Okay,
right.
And we have got to understand this is more than just a belief by these people. This is a tactic to bring down our country from within.
Yes, it is.
It's all part of it.
Also today, this is from Reuters, a confident President Barack Obama kicked off the second term on Monday with an impassioned call for an inclusive America that rejects partisan rancor and embraces immigration reform, gay rights, and the fight against climate change. Obama's ceremonial swearing in at the U.S. Capitol was filled with traditional pomp and pageantry, but it was scaled back the inauguration to the historic start of his presidency in 2009. And what they're saying is maybe half of the people that were, half of the attendance from 2009, but I believe it was less. So despite expectations tempered by lingering economic weakness and a divided Washington, Obama delivered a preview of the priorities he intends to pursue, essentially a reformation of core liberal democratic causes, declaring Americans are made for this moment and must seize it together. Now, when they're saying in this article liberal democratic causes, they mean what you were referring to, Marxist, communist tactics, and this is what they're doing. It goes on to say, Obama said, we cannot make absolutism for principle or substitute speculate for politics or treat name calling as a reasonable debate. He also was talking about how he is going to this collectivism. Preserving our individual freedoms ultimately requires collective action. And this is what they are saying through veiled words and vague words that have, double meanings. And but when you read between the lines, you can see exactly what they're doing. Obama promised to have the national debt cut in half by that first term, or he shouldn't be reelected. He spent more than every single president before him combined. Okay, he promised to stop the Bush administration's use of the torture tactics and the unfair treatment of people, and yet he has created kill list and the drone campaign is scaled up. He has reaffirmed the Patriot Act. He has created the Council of Governors. He has pretty much expanded every tyrannical agency of the government in the worst way possible. And, instead of talking about the right to free speech, guaranteeing us that, instead of talking about the right to bear arms, he is talking about the rights of gay people to get married. He is talking about the rights of illegal immigrants to be legalized, which, that's one of the lesser issues at this point when we see over 100 million people are dependent on the electronic red lines, the welfare system, and, most of the people can do without it. There are some people that do need help, but I guarantee, not all these people need help, and when they pull that, we can see how they could, if they wanted to, really start a civil war. But comparing himself to Abraham Lincoln and everybody around him doing so, it just leads you to wonder, especially about the Civil War thing. I just can't stop thinking about that when every time I see the headline of him being referred to as Lincoln. And maybe it's a self-fulfilling prophecy they're trying to complete.
I think it involves more than that. There's something spiritual to this. There's something beyond spiritual. Certainly something spiritual to this, and something that's you say self-fulfilling prophecy. I don't know. It's more spiritual / occult to me than self-fulfilling prophecy. Folks, I don't know if Lucy, I don't know if that Is the sound better, folks?
Yeah,
you can hear me now?
Your sound is a little scrambled. I don't know if I sound scrambled, but your sound is a little scrambled. And like I said, we're having huge weather problems up here, and
all right, because I'm just okay. Something's okay. Yeah, look, I'm actually hardwired right into BTR, so I don't understand. If we can't deliver a quality audio broadcast, we're not going to do this. We need to find out what's going on. Now tonight it could very well be the weather situation, but I don't
know if you want to try the phone if this doesn't clear up. I'm
hardwired in right now. So
okay.
You might want to try.
Okay.
But like I said, if we can't deliver a quality, okay, Joe, you're good, I'm bad. So how can a hardwired direct line in BTR be bad and USB? That's just amazing.
Don't know. But if you want to try the phone, if not, that's okay too.
Listen to what I just said. Okay. The phone I'm using the hardwired phone line for this broadcast right now, which is actually worse than a Skype. Now go figure.
I see.
Okay.
I see what you're talking about. I thought you were on Skype.
Okay. And what I'm saying is if we can't deliver a quality audio broadcast to the people, to our listeners, then we're not going to be doing this. And somebody from BTR better answer to us and better do so. I don't have a lot of patience for this. So that said, let's do what we can to get this resolved.
All right, I'll continue on, and I don't know if you want to try to
go ahead.
Skype or whatever. All right, this is an interesting news article I wanted to hit to today. There's also a PDF, and if you guys go look this up, it is San Francisco Public Utilities Commission's Power Enterprise request for participants wireless control and communication systems for LED luminaries and other devices. There's an article up here on InfoWars that also talks about this. DHS looks to install microphones in urban areas that can listen to your conversations. Gunshot detectors could be used to eavesdrop on street chatter. The DHS is looking to install gunshot detector microphones that are capable of listening to your conversation throughout urban areas of Washington, D.C. It goes on to say, according to a request for RFI posted on the Fed Blitz Ops website on January 18th, the DHS, in tandem with Secret Service, is seeking information on commercially available gunshot detection technologies for fixed surveillance applications. Typical coverage area is expected to be from 10 to hundreds of acres per site located within urban areas. Due to the secure nature of these sites, a high gunshot detection rate of 95% is strongly desired, with daily operational monitoring of this system by external parties is undesirable by external parties. No,
okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Does that sound better?
Much better.
All right. So tell me, what's this all about?
Well, we have two things here. One is that DHS looks into installing microphones in urban areas. Two is the PDF that was put out about using lights and other electronic mechanisms to communicate the pilot wireless control and communication systems on streetlights and other devices that can listen, that can communicate, that can possibly, who knows, read license plates, that can do a lot of things.
So for everyone who was calling Alex Jones a fruit basket because of his conspiracy theory where the microphones and the surveillance on the street lights and such and what have you. Okay. This is because you sent me this and I read it today.
Yes, and you didn't hear the part where me and Larry were talking last week, and he told us in Buffalo they already have this, that they can detect a gunshot down to a matter of feet or yards.
Right.
And
that I understand.
They don't have that here right now. But as we see, the Department of Homeland Security is getting involved and wants to change that in, urban areas around the country. And in at least one city, they say, in Belfort, Massachusetts, where sensors record a loud street argument that accompanied a fatal shooting in December, the system has raised questions about privacy and the reach of police surveillance, even in the service of reducing gun violence, the state reports. Frank Camera, the lawyer for Jonathan Flores, a man charged with murder, complained that the technology is opening up a whole can of worms. If the police are utilizing these conversations, then it is an issue. Where does it stop? The ACLU jumped in and said that this technology could represent a clear violation of the Fourth Amendment if used, and Jay Stanley asked whether microphones can be remotely activated by police who want to listen to nearby conversations, noting that it's illegal for police to make audio recordings of conversations in which they are not a participant without a warrant. And Nick goes on to say, if the courts start allowing recordings of conversations picked up by these devices to be admitted as evidence, then it will provide additional incentive for the police to install microphones in our public spaces over and above what is justified by the level of effectiveness the technology proves to have in pinpoint gunshots, wrote Stanley.
Well, and I understand the fact that they can pick the gunshot. They can understand everything. They can get where the shots come from, the gunshot detectors. I understand that. But what you're talking about here is something totally different. It's a different technology. It's a more refined technology. It's not the same. The only thing that's the same is the platform in which it's being used. But it's a more refined technology. So this is being able to hear a whisper from 50 feet away.
Yeah. I mean, you could go outside in your driveway, and your kid comes home and you say something to him, whatever. They're going to be listening. Every street light could be equipped with one of these listening devices through LED. And this is what the San Francisco PDF talks about, is using these for public safety. They say to protect public health and public safety and the environment and all kinds. They have all the excuses in the world why they need to install these. But what they want to do, they want to install basically surveillance. They want to conduct surveillance through secure wireless transmission data through neighborhoods and city districts, and they want the secure transmission of data throughout the city, and it may include electric vehicle charging stations, data transmission, electric meter reading, gunshot monitoring, street surveillance, public information broadcasts, street parking monitoring devices, traffic monitoring.
Wait a second. What did you just say before that?
Public information broadcasts.
So what does that mean?
That means it not only can receive the data it hears and transmit it to the police or the fusion center, that it can also speak back. If maybe the president wants to give a speech, they can use this system as a double-edged sword, not only to listen, but to broadcast. And maybe it could be something subtle, subliminal messages. I watched an interesting conspiracy theory with Jesse Ventura like 2 weeks ago, or during the break, the New Year's break we had, where they were talking about this. These towers that, are affecting people that are saying they're hearing voices or having other problems in their head. And they linked it to these towers that do things like this, that can communicate through these wireless control systems. And I know people probably everywhere have seen these huge, weird towers go up. I've seen them. They're all over the place here. And what they're going to do...
alerted us. John had alerted us to the tower.
Yeah,
but he there was a specific name. I don't know. Do you remember what?
The Black Tower. That was what was said in the episode I watched. Don't know if it was the same thing or not.
I'm talking about John from Braveheart Radio. He had taken a photograph of some of the towers that are up here off of Interstate 9.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And the towers are for data and for transmitting data and for images, audio, everything.
Yep. And imagine, they can already listen to us through our computers. They can listen to us through our phones, our TVs. The head of the CIA came out and said they can hear you through your dishwasher, through your appliances. Imagine street lights. any light that might be able to transmit data now. Who knows? Is there any privacy in your house, in your home, in your car? I don't think there is anymore. And they're saying that this is a pilot program. I guarantee it's probably already been implemented in half the cities, major cities across the United States, when they just haven't said anything about it. And they're making it public now because they know the Constitution is gone. They know what they can get away with. And what they're going to do is continue this until will writing be safe even? Pass a note from one person to another. I mean, if you're standing outside, they can really, if they want to, read what's on that piece of paper from a satellite.
It's not even, it's, you know, I used to think it was kind of funny when I'd meet with my source and he'd say, come on, let's go for a ride. And when we would go someplace that was quite open and out of the way. And it scared, not it scared me, but it made me think that, well, you know, they really don't have, I mean, are they really that interested in trying to find out, number one, what you're telling me and who you are? You know, is there really active surveillance on a person like this? Of course there would be, but is there, I guess the biggest issue I had, do we have the technology in play right now to be able to pick up? Well, just think of 1984, the book 1984, the movie 1984. And by the way, I didn't really care for the movie that much, but do we have that in the technical?
Yeah.
It's absolutely.
Okay. Do you remember I sent you the electronic health system they were trying to set up? The electronic transfer of information, the registering of that, and the different ways. They weren't sure which networks they can use. They wanted to make sure that like broadband Wi-Fi was hackable, so they wanted a different way to transmit this information. And we see them setting up, programs to make sure they get this right, so the information can't be hacked. But I'm sure there's always a backdoor way into systems like that. As we've seen people hack into the little tickers and put up messages they want, or there always seems to be ways around it, no matter what. And even if there isn't, they say there is, like the hacking of a power plant to the point where they can shut down power for weeks. So no, this is just over the top. It doesn't even need to be done. They can hear everything you say, basically, if they want to, without any of these LED lights, I'm sure. They have technology already in place. They've probably had it for years, and it's been being used constantly to listen to every word you say. So when you're outside, sad to say, you got to be careful. You don't want to say the wrong thing. Next thing you know, you'll have the Department of Homeland Security at your house. And it's really a crazy thing to think about, but it's not. I mean, this is happening. They're publishing it. They're saying they're going to do it.
Well, we should have known. At least I should have known right from the beginning. And for this, I'm going to apologize to everyone. I should have known right from the beginning. You should remember history. DHS was set up to do nothing more than to control the public, the American public. It had nothing to do with the establishment. It had nothing to do with going after terrorists, basically. But it's control of the American public. And that, the fact that I didn't speak up, or I really wasn't convinced until, 4 years ago, maybe?
Well, what are you going to, if there's something you don't truly believe in, of course you're not going to, go out there and say that you do. So, we all grow at different rates, and you can be told that, people are told this information over and over and over and never will believe it. So you got to consider yourself, blessed for at least being able to see it when you did. You can't, go back and give yourself a hard time because you didn't see it sooner. But you didn't expect to see this end up the way it did.
Well, no, not in the beginning, but now I saw where I see how it started. But I really have to say that to everyone listening to this broadcast, I'm sure you people talk to family, friends, and others who at your work, where you work, where you do your banking, or whatever, wherever you're at, maybe the gun store that you go to, and you're out there talking to different people. We all arrive at these mentally where we're at. We all arrive at this location at different times.
We're all of us. Not all of us, and not, unfortunately, the majority of the American people, I don't think, would end up, understanding to the depths. I mean, we look at this country there being a real Christian, preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ is considered extreme. People run from it as fast as they can. There are more non-Christians than there are, even Christians who just go to church and say they're Christians, and that's all they do. There are more communists in this country now. There are more people who want a free ride instead of, working for something to make themselves better in this country. That's why we have more people on welfare than we do really have making, working, producing. It's insane. Everything is backwards, and it's just not right. If we can move on to go to the gun control here for a little bit. I have a quick clip I wanted to play, and then an article I wanted to get into about the gun control, and part of what the executive orders have done. And this clip I'm going to play first is from a New York Senate hearing, or an assembly hearing inside the New York State Senate. And what they did is they were talking about what worked and what didn't work, or what got through and didn't get through out of the things they were talking about, or the proposals they were wanting for gun control. And they got some of those proposals through, as we saw Andrew Cuomo take them and run with them and create the strictest gun state in the country. But now there are still things on the books that they tried to push through and didn't get through. But what are these things that are just sitting there waiting?
Well, so stop right there. Let me ask everyone a question. What was signed? Does anyone know with absolute 100% certainty what was signed by Barack Hussein Obama during that press conference? When was that? Tuesday? Wednesday? Wednesday. That's right. That's because that's when I lost consciousness. And what was signed? What the meaning of the documents that were signed? What the meaning are? I want to know. I want somebody to tell me exactly what these are. I haven't seen, but then again, I've been down, so I don't really. I'm not sure if there's a good place out there that has a legal type of legal review of what was signed. But right. I'd like to see one.
No, we need a comprehensive list and a interpretation of that list where this will never happen, where they don't use the double talk, where they don't use the vague language where it can mean one thing or another thing. But this is interesting. There's Democrats in the Senate of New York, and there's a video of this. I'll put the link to this article in the chat room. And they were talking about proposals that were received, Democrat proposals in the gun bill. And I'm going to play this audio, and then we'll go from there as to the 23 executive actions, as to what some of them actually do, because I do have a few things as far as the mental health part is concerned that will clarify.
Well, that's what we have to be very careful. That's what I'm talking about. We have to be very careful not to assume anything, but to verify, understand what is, because I don't know about any of you, but I am troubled. Again, I went down Wednesday, and I'm just, getting my footing now, and looking back at these. I'm not sure I understand any of this. And I'm not sure I understand why no one is asking questions. I mean, why aren't people saying, wait a minute?
Who's going to ask the questions? Anderson Cooper? Piers Morgan?
Well, no, I mean, you
Sean
talked
Hannity?
to Larry Pratt. You talked to Larry Pratt. What's his take? Do we know?
Yeah, he said that they're using the medical system as a way to, become more invasive and intrusive on the privacy of Americans, and they're way out of line, especially with the Centers for Disease Control, getting them involved to the point where it's being said and debated that they can declare wanting to own a gun a mental health defect. And
all right,
you think about that, that's crazy, but this is all the globalist agenda. This is part of the George Bush September 11th, 1991 New World Order speech, where they can get to the dreams of the founders of the UN and have one great New World Order for everybody.
Right.
Okay. But this was interesting. This little piece of audio here that I'll play now, it's only 50 seconds. And listen closely to what they say, because we'll get into what and why they say it afterwards. Here we go.
And Joe, I have in my hands here something that we received from the Senate, which is rejected Democrat proposals in this gun bill. And I don't know that you've seen this, or if you know that these are there or not.
No, but we don't have our own list of rejected proposals that the Senate rejected, so I don't have anything to show you.
Okay. All right, then I won't address it then if you haven't seen it. I'll leave that one alone. Okay, thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. And, Mr. Speaker, on the bill.
And by the way, I would recommend not to have that list shared because it really has the capacity to dampen the enthusiasm to compromise.
Well, it sure does when we talk about confiscation of assault weapons. It absolutely has the ability to dampen and compromise. Mr. Speaker, on the bill.
All right, I don't have a clue what was said. I don't know. I don't have a clue.
All right, here we go.
Let's just play a cartoon.
In the video, New York Republican Assemblyman Steve McLaughlin is speaking to the Democratic New York Assemblyman Joseph Lenthal. And the transcript reads as this. McLaughlin said, something that we received from the Senate, Democratic proposals in this gun bill. And I don't know if you've seen this or if these are right or not. Lenthal says, well, we don't have our own list of rejected proposals that the Senate rejected, so I don't have anything to show you. The McLaughlin then says, okay, then I won't address it if you haven't seen it. I'll leave that one alone. He says, okay, thank you, Joe, I appreciate it. And then this Joe Lenthal, the assembly leader, says, and by the way, I would recommend that not to have that list shared anywhere because it has the capacity to dampen the enthusiasm of compromise. And McLaughlin turns and says, well, it sure does when we talk about the confiscation of assault weapons. It absolutely has the ability to dampen a compromise. And the list of proposals that the Democrats would rather you didn't see is in this article. 1, confiscation of assault weapons, and that's assault weapons is in parentheses. What does New York consider an assault weapon? Pretty much anything that carries more than one bullet. 2, confiscation of 10-round clips. 3, statewide database for all guns. 4, continue to allow pistol permit holders' information to be released to the public. 5, label semi-automatic shotguns with more than 5 rounds or pistol grips as assault weapons. 6, limit the number of rounds and magazines to 5 and confiscate and forfeiture of banned magazines. Confiscation and forfeiture of banned magazines. 7, limit possession to no more than 2 magazines. 8, limit purchase of guns to 1 gun per person per month.
Require. I can't. Okay, I'm looking at this. And thanks for sending that to me, folks. This is on Tennessee Sons of Liberty. I think it is. You can post this in the chat room. But the hubris of these people, and I interrupted you halfway through, but it doesn't matter. What they're saying is they're going to confiscate everything.
Yeah,
but they're saying, we're not going to tell you. We can't tell the people.
Don't to the public yet because it hasn't been confirmed nor denied. But yeah, that's the list of shot down proposals by the New York State legislature of what they tried to get through but couldn't.
I just love this, what you said, too. Oh, and by the way, I would recommend not to have that list shared because it has the capacity to dampen the enthusiasm of compromise. And then McLaughlin comes back and says, yeah, it sure does. When we talk about the confiscation of assault weapons, it absolutely has the ability to dampen a compromise. So,
yeah,
obviously they're doing stuff behind our back.
Dovetailing with that is an article out of the Natural News today. Era of thought crimes now here as psychiatrists given Judge Dredd authority to strip citizens of their constitutional rights. It goes on to say most Americans operate under the assumption that your thoughts are your own private business and that they cannot be used against you to forfeit your rights and freedoms. It's only actions that matter when it comes to being judged. Right? The article asks. Merely thinking something does not mean you're going to act on it. And it says, enter Barack Obama and his 23 executive orders issued last week. And don't forget New York Mafia Mayor Governor Cuomo and his new psychiatric police law. Suddenly, merely thinking about doing something violent or dangerous can cause all your constitutional rights to be stripped away by the state. And here's how it works. If you're seeing a psychiatrist or a psychologist and you say something that might be considered violent, I can't stand my boss. I wish she would die. Under Obama's executive orders, the psychiatrist must now report you to the government as a possible danger to society. This is done in a complete violation of the doctor-patient confidentiality, of course. Now think about this, though. I don't know if the article gets into this more. I didn't read the whole thing, but these new LED lights that we were talking about, these new listening devices that will be put up in street lights that aren't already, if they're not already there. Now, say the government hears you say something like, oh, I can't stand my job, I wish my boss would keel over. Can they come to your house and say you're mentally ill and take your gun away? I mean, these are questions we need to ask. The no-gun buy list they're talking about. Well, look how good the no-fly list works. We see kids being put on a no-fly list considered terrorists just because their name popped up on a list. We can see where this is going. It all leads to one place. Absolute authoritarianism and tyranny and 100% government control of everything, including you, your body, your mind. And they're going to ask you, most likely, that they're your God. And that is where we're headed, just like it says in the Bible. Now, according to the West Point PDF that was released, that makes me, if I believe that, I am a crazy, far-right, violent extremist. But now anything normal is considered extreme. Anything extreme is now normal. You see how they've really turned it around on the American people. The DHS isn't here for Al-Qaeda. It never was. And a lot of people, like you said, are waking up to that, and it's late. But it's very sad and it's very real. And we got to be careful because things are only going to get worse. And we're coming up against the break here in a few minutes. And we're going to open the phones up for you guys for the next 2 hours, and we'll take calls while we go through the rest of the news we have. 661-244-9839 is the number if you want to call in and get lined up on hold. And we'll come back and hit a few pieces of news. One being the United States is planning on giving $1 billion of taxpayer money to the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt for fighter jets, or with fighter jets and other arms and munitions. And we have a clip from Fox News we're going to play. When we come back, then we'll take your calls and more. You're listening to the Hagmann and Hagmann Report this Monday, January 21st, 2013, the day of the second coming of the tyrannical dictator Obama. And this is going to be Obama unhinged, as both masters know. There's nothing that can get him out of fight from me. You don't want to see that, but nothing can change. Let's listen to that. Go back for a minute.
Hi folks, Doug Hagmann here. You might know me as the co-host from the Hagmann and Hagmann Report, or as a frequent guest on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. If you're like me, you're tired and confused over today's headlines. You just don't know where to turn for accurate, concise information about really what's going on, what's truly going on in today's society. If you don't know where to turn for accurate, well-researched, and properly vetted news, I've got a suggestion. In fact, it's a requirement. Bookmark Canada Free Press. That's CanadaFreePress.com on the internet. It's just not for Canada. It's for news across the world. Judy McLeod, founding editor, has put together a vast array of talented writers like Kelly O'Connell, Daniel Greenfield, Dr. Aileta Johnson-Powell, a lot of guest columnists, very talented writers. Folks, that's Canada Free Press at CanadaFreePress.com. Now mobile friendly. Follow on Facebook, because without America, there is no free world.
Survival of the fittest. In any and all situations, survival is your number one priority. That requires being tough and thinking smart. And the folks at Freeze Dry Guy are going to help you do just that. They have the long-range patrol ration entrees, what they call the Brick Pack. When you're in survival mode, it is absolutely the best item for your survival pack or bug-out bag. You can go farther, faster, and carry more food with the LRP cold weather ration entrees. Not only do these long-lasting, durable entrees help sustain you or your family through the harshest environment or situation, they are by far the most delicious of their kind. No contest. With a variety of tasty entrees, you can't beat the LRP Brick Packs. Let Freeze Dry Guy help you in your survival situations. Go to freezedryguy.com. That's freezedryguy.com, or call 866-404-3663. That's 866-404-FOOD.
You better wake up fast and listen to this, America. The Obama campaign has launched attack squads disguised as truth teams dedicated to intimidating and silencing all political dissent carried over the internet that criticizes the Marxist Obama. Truth squads specifically focused on covering up Obama's endless trail of lies, corruption, and subversion, and using the Gestapo power of our own government to police and censor the internet and shut down websites that dare to carry the real truth about Obama's Marxist coup. Remember the names of these Gestapo-style agencies at work right there in your neighborhood: KeepingHisWord.com, KeepingGOPHonest.com, and AttackWatch.com. KGB, SS, and Gestapo-style police-state gangster organizations at work to silence the important voices of patriot dissent, some of which have already been shut down by Obama's orders. Adolf Hitler would have been proud. We're the 21st century Tea Party patriots.
Hold on to your seat. The Hagmann and Hagmann flight is now taking off. Doug and Joe Hagmann have cleared the runway of TSA agents, jihadists, political crackpots, and global elitists. Now get ready for some real news. Here they are, Doug and Joe Hagmann.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to hour number 2 of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report this Monday, January 21st, 2013, officially the inauguration day of the second term of Obama, or Barry Soetoro, or whichever name you prefer. One thing that we didn't mention is that he dropped Hussein from the announcement of his name during the inauguration, which I find interesting. I thought he's proud of his heritage and where he's from, his culture, his roots, but why hide your middle name? Are you afraid you're going to offend people? You think people already know what your name is? Just an odd thing I noticed. We're going to get into some news. We have China and Japan are in a dispute over an island. The United States has taken the side of Japan, and now China is ordering their military and especially their Air Force and helicopter units to be combat ready. Also, there's an article from the Financial Times that says the West faces decades of conflict in North Africa, like another Afghanistan. And that is pretty crazy if you think about it. We just deployed personnel to 35 different African nations. Also, coming out of the Obama administration, one of the top priorities for his second term is the Trans-Pacific Partnership Trade Agreement. And we're going to get into a little bit of that, but first I'm going to play an audio of what they are doing in Egypt, our taxpayer dollars are doing, funding Egypt giving them fighter jets to the Muslim Brotherhood.
This is so important to really understand what's going on here. Go ahead, Joe.
This is a 6-minute clip from Fox News, and we're going to play it now. When we come back, we'll take your calls. We'll start taking your calls, and here we go.
Hello, everybody. I'm Uma Pemaraju in Washington. The U.S. prepares to ship fighter jets and tanks to Egypt later this month as part of a foreign aid package. Now, the deal was made back in 2010 when Hosni Mubarak was still in power. But now there's pressure mounting to stop the aid shipment. We're going to talk to retired General Jack Keane and Middle East expert Fuad Ajami about reaction to this deal. And here at home, pressure is mounting on lawmakers to stop or at least delay U.S. military aid to Egypt at a time when uncertainty remains over Egypt's leaders' ties to the Muslim Brotherhood, and if the U.S. military hardware would be used against Israel. Now, later this month, our government plans to make good on a promise to deliver its first shipment of fighter jets, tankers, and millions of dollars in other aid to Egypt. This is all part of a billion-dollar aid package, courtesy of the American taxpayer. The deal that was signed when former Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak was in charge. Joining us now for some perspective on all this, retired 4-star general and former vice chief of staff to the Army, General Jack Keane, along with Fuad Ajami, the senior fellow for the Hoover Institute. Gentlemen, welcome. Great to have you here today.
Glad to be here.
Thank you.
General Keane, let me begin with you. It's no secret that Egypt's President Morsi has been a longtime member of the Muslim Brotherhood and has waged a power grab recently. The U.S. military deal was done when we knew we had a strong ally in Mubarak. What kind of leverage do we have now?
Well, I think we still have certainly leverage here with $1 billion in aid and continuing to arm and train the Egyptian military. I think what Morsi wants is sort of the deal that Mubarak had, in the sense that he would support our foreign policy initiatives in the Middle East, certainly the peace treaty, and also help with the radicals. And in return, we had our hands off of any domestic politics and concerns about political and social injustice and lack of economic opportunity for his people while we continued that aid. And that seems to me that the path we are on now with Morsi. And I believe if we're going to continue this aid, it should be at least be condition-based, so that we have a say about some of the things that Morsi is doing and some of the actions that he's taking.
Well, Fuad, there are some who believe that Morsi's regime has distanced itself from Washington, and that Morsi, who became the first Egyptian leader to visit Iran since the 1979 revolution, shouldn't be really concerned that the military hardware that's being delivered there could be used against us. Or Israel, Israel.
Well, you know, Uma, I think General Keane has it just right. In fact, we're not really giving aid to the Morsi government or the Morsi regime or to the Muslim Brotherhood. Let's be honest about this. We're giving aid to the officer corps, to the Egyptian military, which has been the pillar of Egyptian political life. And this Egyptian military, say what you will about it, it's not the Syrian military. It doesn't kill its own people. It has played a positive role. It pushed Mubarak under the bus when it was time for him to go. And it has been fairly decent and benign force in the great tumult that we have seen in Egypt over the last 2 years. The Egyptian military is the only pillar, really, of political stability in Egypt today. And that's the people we have invested our money and our weapons in.
So we shouldn't be concerned about the aid that's going forward now?
Well, I think we should be concerned. We should be concerned about the direction of Egypt as a country, the direction of Egypt as a society. And you know, Uma, in a way, if you go back and look at Egypt under Mubarak, things were not well under Mubarak. The dictator had sapped Egyptian political life. He was not the most reliable of allies. He double-dealed us most of the time. So, in fact, we should not lament the passing of the dictators, and we should watch what the Egyptian military is doing. It's the only return address we have in Cairo. It's really the Egyptian military that we can rely on.
Let's move on to Afghanistan now and the efforts to move ahead with troop withdrawals there. It's risky right now given the fact that there are big questions of competence over Karzai's leadership and how he would deliver basic services to his people. General Keane, how do you assess the situation?
Well, first of all, Karzai is going to be transitioned in 2014, and I think...
All right. That part, the Egyptian sending aid, sending fighter jets over there, and we heard one of the commentators, not the commentators, one of the guests that were talking, saying that this is not, to the Muslim Brotherhood, this is to the Egyptian military. Well, Vernon, thanks for giving me this headline, daily headline news. Obama is pushing and making sure that this goes through, expediting the F-16s and the F-16 fighter jets, despite opposition from Congress. And he's done this. Also, out of Egypt today, an Egyptian court sentences a Christian family to 15 years for converting from Islam. 15-year prison sentence was given to a woman and her 7 children by an Egyptian court for converting to Christianity. And this is a sign of things to come, according to alarmed human rights advocates who say the nation's Islamist government is bad news for Christians in the North African country. And we see this disconnect with things like this, too. I mean, how can we sit here, take guns away from the American people who, for the 99.9% of gun owners, have them just in case they need them,
right,
and openly give guns to drug cartels in Mexico, openly give guns to al-Qaeda fighters to overthrow governments like they did in Egypt, like they did in Libya, like they're doing in Syria. This is the worst case scenario. We are funding the enemies of Israel.
Well, look, we did this back in
biblical.
We're just extending our work. We remember when Bill Clinton was in office, even back into, we'll go back into Ronald Reagan with Iran-Contra. But with what I heard in that audio clip that you played, this one of the guys said, well, since the aid was already marked to go to, essentially to Mubarak or to his military, we should just let it go because it's going to, according to his line of thinking, it would be ultimately the same type or have the same intent, purpose, whatever you want to call it. That I found to be extremely disingenuous, and whoever that person was, I don't know. Did you say that was a CNN clip, or was that?
That was Fox News.
Fox News. All right.
Yeah, and also I'll send you that link, and I'll find it and post it in the chat room. But this
extremely
Obama expedites delivery of F-16s to Morsi, Egypt. A senior U.S. official said the administration of Barack Obama has ordered the Defense Department to begin sending the first of 20 F-16 Block 52 plus aircrafts on January 21st. The official said the Pentagon would also deliver assembly kits for 200 M1A1 MBTs. Congress did not change the laws on selling arms to Egypt, William Taylor, the special coordinator for Middle East transitions, said. The U.S. administration listens to all views, but does not necessarily concede to them all. Taylor's position included facilitating U.S. aid to Cairo. His remarks, reported in the Egyptian media on January 17th, marked high-level confirmation of an imminent U.S. arms transfer to Cairo, which receives $1.3 billion in annual American military aid, funded by yours truly and the listeners and every other taxpayer in this country.
Is it me, or are people just getting... Folks, can you even comprehend anymore? $1 billion, $1 trillion, 16 trillion, all of these numbers, these figures being thrown out. To me, it's just, I can't... It's not even real. I mean, you start talking about $1 trillion of anything, that's not real to me. Is it real to you? Does it feel... 16 trillion. Can you actually wrap your head around that? Does it really mean that much to you? I think we have to. To me, I think. You know what I mean, Joe?
Yes, and I was doing some history research this weekend, going back to the Weimar Republic and looking at all the wonderful things that happened there when the hyperinflation hit, and they, continue to increase. From a $100 bill to $1 million bill to the point where people burn the money to keep warm instead because they couldn't use it. It wasn't worth anything, no matter how much you had, wheelbarrows full. And they talked about it was more orderly then. It's not going to fall. I mean, the way they fell is not going to be like the way we fall if that were to happen here. I can guarantee you that. Things were different. People were different and more peaceful, more... I don't know, helping each other. Now it would just be utter chaos. And we have a clip from Bill O'Reilly we'll play later about the dollar collapse, the possibility of a dollar collapse because of a Government Accountability Office audit of the federal government and their spending. And what they reported on was that it's unsustainable, and if they continue down this current path, there is no other option but a hyperinflation currency collapse. So, well, let's go to the phones.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead. Before we go to the phones, let me just want to say this, Marianne. Thank you. She sent an email to me, and I just want to read this because I think it's interesting. It's from Marianne. Well, today is January 21st. In the name of Abraham Lincoln and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the Marxist Muslim manipulator Barack Hussein Obama will become more openly and aggressively tyrannical. The Cobra is lurking in the shadows, cast by men who are widely admired. Think about that. Wow. Mm-hmm. And he is trying to ride on their popularity. Here is a picture of what we are up against, and she enclosed a picture, a very graphic, very sharp, crystal clear picture of a cobra. But our God is greater than any snake. Jesus said that we would be able to overcome serpents. Behold, I give unto you the power to tread on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. Luke chapter 10, verse 19. And I thought that was an extremely important and very well fitting, a very fitting verse or message there. Yeah. And then, Joe, I want to mention as well, this Wednesday,
we have a special show Wednesday from 9 to midnight. We're going to have Steve Quayle on, and the topic is going to be genetic Armageddon. Genetic Armageddon. Right. Very interesting. He has a book he wrote, Genetic Armageddon, that is fascinating, well beyond its time. He wrote it a while ago, and things that he wrote about 10, 15 years ago we're just seeing coming out in the news today, even though it's already kind of been implemented and it's there. But he was right on the money when he wrote that book, and it's an excellent read, and that should be a wonderful show.
Well, I talked to him today, and he said the full title, here's the full title of the show, it's Genetic Armageddon has arrived. You won't believe what comes next. And so I said, Steve, you going to tell me? And he just started laughing, like, you'll have to join us Wednesday with everyone else, as if I, But
it should be a great show.
Genetic Armageddon has arrived, and it's true because he did tell me a few things during that conversation that, folks, I got to tell you, you got to tune in Wednesday because he does connect some dots. Go ahead, Joe.
All right. Well, let's go to the phones here. People have been patiently waiting on hold for a while. We're going to go to DC 703 area code. You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hello?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. You guys are talking about Homeland Security people. I just got a visit from them. They actually...
You're kind of scrambled. I don't know if it's the phone system here. I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah, I actually got visited by Homeland Security recently. And, they came with two local cops, one of their, psychiatrist persons, and a Homeland Security representative. And apparently, this is the second time this has happened to me. I first got visited by the FBI. And as far as the FBI, when they showed up, they asked me the same questions. And the FBI showed up because it was related to me sending out emails in the capacity that I used to work for Homeland Security. And my emails were informing the legislators that upon my analysis, I found that they were the threat. So when I sent that out, I got a visit from the FBI. And recently from the Homeland Security people, I assume when they showed up, they gave me the same sort of questions, and it was related to something that obviously must have been on one of my postings online related to just posting information, the same information that is being spoken of on this your blog talk. So I've actually experienced firsthand everything you're talking about, and
wait a second, caller, can I just interrupt you? I'm not sure. You got stopped by, or you got a visit by Department of Homeland Security and the FBI, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Well,
okay.
First the FBI, and then just recently from a Homeland Security representative.
Okay. For what reason? Again.
Well, the reason that the Homeland Security people gave me was that they received an anonymous tip that I might be a danger. And so that was their excuse for showing up. But as they gave me questions, I'm of course listening to what kind of questions they're given, and the questions related to stuff that I posted on the internet.
Do you have a website or something that you publish?
I've got a website.
Okay. Was it related to the information that you posted on this website?
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
I've linked to your site. And
okay. Yeah. The reason I'm having a hard time here is I don't know if the call or if the listeners out there can hear this digitization.
Yeah, there is gremlins in the lines.
So if you want to give out the website, so we can take a look at what.
I'd rather not, but
okay, all right.
As far as that, I live kind of I live near D.C. and I know this town pretty well, and as far as a lot of the things that you're talking about, I've actually experienced firsthand and done research on out there in the in the local woods.
So you're validating the information we are providing, basically. And by the way, okay. And if you want to send me privately your website address, and I'd never, without your permission, use it on the air. But I was just curious as to what would prompt, what kind of dissent or what kind of statement would prompt the eject.
Well, I can't really, as far as figure that out. It's nothing that would be any different than what you guys are talking about. Although I did go on a local venture that may have related to it, but anyhow, everything that you guys are talking about is a real deal, and other than mentioning anything more, just encourage you guys to keep on doing it. But you're right about as far as the surveillance and all that stuff, and I kind of grew up in that kind of an environment. As a matter of fact, I enjoyed the Sunday thing you had with Tom Horn, and his father was a military guy, and so I kind of come from that same exact background, just a little bit more than where his father might have ranked.
Well, we want to thank you for your call. We're getting huge interference. I don't know if it's our end or your end, but it's really scrambled. I want to thank you for that information.
Yeah, I think it's the callers.
You get bad phone connections here all the time.
Well, we thank you for your call.
Keep up the good work. If you guys, you actually talking to you offline might be something you might be interested in.
Okay.
God bless you.
Thank you for calling, and we'll be in touch. And, yeah, I don't know what's up with the audio tonight. I don't know if, like I said, special listeners or gremlins on the line or what. We're going to go to another call and see if this works. Area code 267. We're coming to you. You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Yeah, hey, guys. God bless you, first and foremost. Here.
You are very scrambled also.
Okay. Just wanted to touch base. I guess I was on hold. Kind of like, I guess, in the atmosphere, talking about the first-hand experience. Could you hear me better now?
Nope, it's still very scrambled. There's some kind of interference taking place.
Well, if you could hear anything, I just want everybody to know that everything you guys talk about is definitely real. Just firsthand, over the weekend, I had a family gathering. I actually found out that some Christian members of my family are actually wrapped up in just about everything you guys talk about as far as the government. So I've been struggling to have my wife get it. I've awakened in the last couple months, thanks to you guys and Stephen Quill. And am I still breaking up?
Yes, very much.
Okay.
We did gather what you said. That your wife's come around, and you guys have been listening to the show.
Yeah, I just want to get this out because I feel like if I don't get it out, I'm just gonna explode. So, my sibling, to say the least, we always knew she worked for the government, but she was a subcontractor and never really gave too much information about like what she did. But my wife really didn't get it. So this weekend we actually had a family get together, and I got a discernment. For the discernment, this was like, ask my sibling certain questions, and she just started, I guess, giving us so much information that nailed everything. I come from kind of a unique perspective because I've been in social service for a while. I actually work for a medical health center in Philadelphia, so I'm calling from Philadelphia. So I get to see what you guys are talking about as far as the medical field and the information that they have, because I actually work in that field. But then with what I found out over the weekend, my sibling, she actually has a clearance that I never thought of. It's kind of, if you figure if your family member had the mark of the beast and was calling themselves Christian, how would you deal with it? Because she's already chipped as far as her clearances go, and she's talking about like she went across the embassies, and we always thought that she was just doing some administrative work for the government. But I guess to kind of condense everything without trying to explode, all this is real. It's realer than what I wanted it to be at a short period of time. And, thanks to your ministry, and one of the things, Stephen Quill is the real deal. I emailed him and, kind of explained my situation. Like, he sent me, his books without even thinking twice about it. Like, I was in the church for a while, and my own pastor went and he gave me a free book. So Stephen Quill, not to kind of have everyone rush call him up for this, but he's the real deal. Like, the guy's heart is in the right spot. The Lord is using you guys. And if today's show cannot be about anything else, let it be about how it's really hitting home, and this is the real deal. If there's anyone calling for the first time, I'm a first-time caller, but I've been listening for a couple months already because it's really like the only way that I could just get by. So over the weekend, I just figured out that basically my flesh and blood is on the other side of the fence. And I mean, like, I was asking, I don't have any PhD, I don't have any knowledge as far as in depth with you guys. I just learned whatever I learned off of the radio and off of, books I've been reading off of Stephen. So it's not in vain. What you guys are doing is really essential. And, like, to tell you the truth, like, it's really, like, right now there's no other way. Like, whoever's listening to anything that's not, the Hagmann report, or listening to people that are like Stephen Quill, there's no other way to go right now. You don't have a choice. Either you listen to what's really information, or you just become a zombie. So this weekend I've really been smacked with a choice that my flesh and blood has always been working on. Like, it's some born identity CIA stuff. And, like, I was just asking the right questions to the information that I've been getting from you guys. And it's just like my wife actually, that helped her come to the other side. Because the identification that my sibling had, she was kind of bragging that it showed off her clearances and all this. And I looked at my wife. I was like, see, like, this is what I've been talking to you about. This is what I listened to in the archives. This is basically everything that I've been scribbling, all the notes. So my wife kind of gave me, like, a nonverbal gesture, like, okay, I get it now. Everything that you've been talking about at work, in the medical field, social services, plus, your sibling working for the military. I mean, like, the stuff that, like, I was looking at the company that she works for as a subcontractor, and I mean, like, it's really deep. But I guess my sibling realized that I shouldn't be knowing this. Like, she expected, I was in knucklehead for another year, so backsliding, and so in, like, the last 5-6 months, I asked God to, to work with me. He led me to this Stephen Quayle, which led me to you guys, and now everyone thinks I'm wacky. But it's really important. I guess I was looking for a like-minded individual. I thought that my sister, being Christian, quote unquote, will be actually finding a like-minded individual. But in turn, what I actually found was a wolf in sheep's clothing, which is so scary because you picture. And by the way, the medical health center that I work for is Christian. It's the only Christian medical health center, like, I guess in all of my area. So.
And I think we just lost the caller. Can you?
Yeah,
are you
not
there?
Sure. I'm not
are
sure.
Are you there?
Yes,
I can hear you.
I'm here. All right. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's very difficult when we've got this studio issue here because of the weather, and then you've got multiple other issues. We apologize. Were the listeners? I don't have accessibility right now to the chat or the listeners. Were they able to hear any of that call?
Yeah, they heard this. They heard what we heard. And caller who just called in, if you want, send me an email. I got your number from the queue, and feel free to contact me. We can we'll talk further off air until whatever these problems are get resolved. We do have a backup number, courtesy of Christians United Broadcasting number at 321-252-8941. That's 321-252-8941. If somebody wants to try that, we can go that route and see how that works. I don't know if it's a Skype problem, a Blog Talk problem.
Because what we're going to end up doing, I got a feeling, is we're just going to have to go all in and hook us up to an FM and a shortwave station. Use that as the basis for as the platform.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have to abandon all of this other trivial, all this other stuff, because I personally, I'm just not happy about this.
That's right. I mean,
we want to deliver a quality
put the
product.
work in, and we have excellent callers and excellent listeners. And for them to call in, especially the guy who's a first-time caller, trying to share something and to have it's all scrambled, you can't hear. That's not right. And it's whether it's Blog Talk or Skype, it shouldn't matter. It should work fine. So it is troublesome, and I know you get a little bit more angry about it than I do, but I know it comes with the territory, as we are constantly under some type of digital computer attack, it seems like. We do have a caller through the other number. Going to see if this works any better. We can bring this caller on. All right. Let's see. 703 area code. I'm not sure if it's the same caller as before.
Yeah, that's the same caller. I was trying to talk to you off there.
Okay.
Oh, you're trying to talk to us off air. Well, just be advised, you're live on air right now. So anything you say.
Yeah, I don't really want to.
Okay.
I could tell you about some strange stuff, but
Well, I'll tell you what. If you want to do this, if you want to send us an email, really, there's no way we could talk off air during the show at this point. So,
okay. Let me just mention a few things. And I used to work for ABC National News at one point.
Okay.
And, I've had some really strange. I'm a Christian, and so I noticed things from that perspective. And one of the things I noticed while I was working just before 9/11 was, being at Andrews Air Force Base in the press room waiting for Bush to get off the plane, and I grabbed the Andrews Air Force Base Times, little paper, and the article caught my eye that was about the Chief of the Air Force at the time. I believe, if I recall, it was General Jumper, the Chief of the Air Force, and he played himself on Stargate SG-1 as himself while in uniform, while on active duty. And that kind of blew my mind. And in the article, General Jumper said he played himself while in uniform, while on active duty, because it was so true to life. He was referring to the show Stargate SG-1. I thought that was quite unusual.
Stargate. Now, when you mentioned that Stargate, what are you talking about when you mention a Stargate?
Well, the show Stargate SG-1 is all about the evil Goa'uld that go to worlds and take over worlds and get the local people, the population, enslaved. And these Goa'uld basically are just like fallen angels, where they can possess human beings, and from there on, you claim dominion on Earth through the offer of temptation and sealing up your agenda.
Okay, yeah, because when I think of that, I think I had a conversation with Steve Quayle last week or the week before. He was saying, well, if you ever get a chance, the first 15 minutes of it, I think the name of the movie is Hellboy. I don't know. I think that's the name of it.
Yeah, I've seen Hellboy.
Okay, it was on this weekend, and I was, like I said, in my delirium. I watched the first 15 minutes of it, and this portal type thing. Back in the Nazis were experimenting with portals and wormholes and such. And, a portal was opened, and a Stargate, if you will, or a portal. I don't know if that's what you mean, but it's certainly.
Well, Stargate SG-1 is a TV series that has that porthole thing in it.
Okay.
But the article was about the thing that's caught my attention, and I think is significant, is that why in the wide world of sport would a four-star general on active duty who's in charge of the entire U.S. military Air Force be playing himself on that show?
Yes, exactly.
And then saying in this article that I read in the Air Force Times while I'm waiting for Bush to get off the plane, this is a skull and bones freak that, is all about that same group of occultists that would instigate a New World Order borderless global agenda that mimics, the Gaul to Stargate SG-1.
Wow.
And you've got the general playing himself, and the scene is in the White House. And it's called, and the episode I believe was called "The Lost World." So the Gaul, or if we do it in the biblical reality, it would be Lucifer as the Gaul in the show. It is in the Oval Office, causing havoc. So you combine these kind of things when you're paying attention to what's going on with all the hard work that a guy like Tom Horn has put into, Apollyon Rising 2012, and then you see, here we are entering the new age of Aquarius, and they've got their whole global agenda, and you see all the stuff going on, and you look at the prophetic timing of it all, and you see these generals that are playing on shows like Stargate SG-1. I mean, and people miss that. Normal people miss that kind of thing. I mean, how in the wide world of sport would I ever even have come across that information had I not been in the press room waiting for Bush to get off the plane? I mean, there's just so many connections and revelations that I could tell you about that are similar to that, related to what's going on and how that you can connect all of this technology and surveillance.
To me, I mean, that speaks volumes. Now, you work for a major news organization, international news organization, and you were in a position to see this. That's a legitimate question. Why do we have a military general, you said, right?
Yeah, general? And there wasn't the four-star general of the Air Force, active duty chief of the Air Force, and he was the second guy to play himself on that show. I had no idea. And, I did my own background investigation on some of the Masonic stuff going on around here. I mean, I've been in places like the George Washington Masonic Temple in Alexandria, Virginia, and seen things that, if you go take a tour on there, if you go up into the cryptic room, there's a little cave-like room and has a painting of King Nebuchadnezzar, and King Nebuchadnezzar sitting on the throne. This is King of Babylon, and there's a man bound on his knees before him, which I assume is Daniel. And the tour guide, they don't do this anymore, by the way, probably because guys like me put it on the internet. But the tour guide would tell you some strange, dark sense of what you see in the regular light, you don't see in the illuminated light, and they turn off the light, and now you're in darkness, and then they turn on UV or ultraviolet light, black light, and the painting that you saw of King Nebuchadnezzar is gone, and now you see these angels in UV black light. These are not the good angels, of course. These are the kind of angels that you would dedicate books to, like The Final Jihad, referring to the Knights of the Secret Circle. Those kind of angels who would, in the graveyard where you have Legion possessing a man, asking Christ, hey, are you here before the time? Those kind of, fallen angels. Those are the kind of angels that would be depicted as the Gaul, which would, ring true to why, an Air Force general would say something like Stargate SG-1, the reason why he played himself, because it's so true to life. So,
wow.
Wow. There's all kind of things like that, and if you connect all that with, the order of operation and how do you get, $1.2 trillion up in the holding company in the World Trade Center of naked shorts and J.P. Morgan to disappear. along with $2.4 trillion in the DoD and the Pentagon, to just disappear the next day after the head of the entire military, Rumsfeld, says he can't account for it. And you know, this is a Pentagon that was, you know, dedicated on 9/11. You know, and so you see these patterns, and you see the words spoken by people, and you know, if you live anywhere near this area, and you come from you know, that kind of a background where you can't help but see these things and run into them. You know,
I also think you've got to know which questions to ask. I mean, you can ask questions, but knowing exactly which are the right questions to ask. Like, for example, the painting you referenced, and how the quote angels showed up under the black or UV light. How did you even know to ask that, or how did you even know it was there?
I was there.
Well, okay, so you were.
I went there because, well, what the root of your question is, what inspired me to go there and investigate this kind of stuff to begin with?
Well, and, yeah, or you know, would I be able to go there and say, hey, turn off the lights, turn on the UV lights?
Well, you used to be able to. If you go there, if you go to the website for the Alexander Masonic, George Washington Masonic Temple, you go in and you'll click on and you get to the cryptic room, but they won't show you that. They'll show you the picture just of King Nebuchadnezzar sitting on the throne, but they won't even mention that they're going to turn off the light and turn on the UV light, and they stop giving a free tour of that place, and they don't take you up into that room anymore. But they did back in the mid '90s, and you know, I've been to all these places here locally, like the world headquarters, you know, that supposedly either today or on 2012, like Tom Horn was mentioning, you know, where Albert Pike's buried or entombed, whatnot, 13 blocks up from the cornerstone of the White House at Scottish Rite World Masonic headquarters. You know, they do the invocation for Lucifer to enter into the new pharaoh, or the host of the god, being inaugurated. And that would be obviously the President of the United States, which ties into this whole god of Sirius that would be depicted as George Washington on the dollar bill. That's the god that they would trust. And so that whole image of the Goa'uld or Stargate reality of timing reflects the 2012 prophecy of that line of prophetic fulfillment, where I believe Tom Horn mentioned the painting of the Aztec 2012 calendar inside the Capitol Dome that has the fulfillment of a prophecy of the white god of Sirius showing up on a date specific, and that's when Cortez met Montezuma.
Right.
So,
which I find what you're talking about to be extremely important, and people might say, well, why? And Joe and I think, you and I, Joe, you and me kind of get into, we kind of talk about the importance of this, and you question, I think sometimes, well, why bother with, what's the basis? Why is this so important? But to me, I think it's to not understand what these people are thinking, because this does relate to 9/11. This does relate to what happened in the 90s, and of course, subsequent to 9/11. The $1 trillion conspiracy that we've been subjected to. It's all of this, and think about this. Now, since we mentioned about Lincoln and the comparison to Obama, Lincoln issued greenbacks and was shot in the head. JFK, he issued Treasury notes. I've got one, by the way.
Well, and he also, just before they shot him, he mentioned that he talked about the secret, cabal behind the government itself, within the government, and then right after that, they took him out.
That's true. And then, one question leads to more questions. And I'm looking here, once again, people could say, well, what does that have to do with current events? Well, if you look at what happened and what they've put into play, I think we could, I don't want to say predict, but anticipate what can happen next. Because, caller, you mentioned something here about the missing money out of the Pentagon, the missing money out of the trade towers. People don't understand. I mean, people look at the $4.6 billion windfall from Larry Silverstein and think, well, wow, that's
what about the secret $16 trillion loans that were given out?
You look at who Larry Silverstein, who his friends were, and suspects.
Yeah.
You're talking, Tiny Turbo Tim. You're talking Jamie Dimon, you're talking Lloyd Blankfein. They all run in the same circles. You're talking the Pete Peterson Institute guys who make videos about what you're talking about, what's their next step. And in one of their movies, which premiered in the White House, which is called Nuclear Tipping Point, at the end of one of the trailers for that movie, is Henry Kissinger. And, this is the guy who said on the exchange floor in New York that Obama, this is the first time he was elected, had an opportunity to use a crisis, And so what they've been, forecasting all along is that, if they blow up a weapon of mass destruction somewhere, like in a theater nuke or something, anything, it doesn't really matter. In a place like New York, wherever, it doesn't matter. After that, the world changes. Right, and they already have everything set up, which you guys are talking about with the microphones and all that stuff. Believe me, that's just nothing. But the whole thing is designed to establish a new world order security matrix and more of a borderless singularity, which is not a Christian thing or an American thing or a constitutional thing at all. And so you look at why did they get rid of the protections like Glass-Steagall? Why did Brooks v. Bourne get hammered so bad by, guys like Larry Summers and Alan Greenspan? And she was proven to be totally right. And nobody's in jail. As a matter of fact, they're promoted. They're making bonuses off of taxpayer bailouts through the legislative branch and signed by the executive branch, which is rehashing its oath of office today.
I think what you're saying, caller, is absolutely, to me, astounding, because I've run into the same things. The depth of what we're seeing here. I gotta tell you what I've found, and folks, and Joe, you tell me if I'm crazy or not. Right. I'm beginning. Well, no, Joe, don't. Never mind. But I'm gonna say this: the more I look into Obama and his background, the more I think that he was created by the CIA.
I call him Rosemary's Baby, but now that he's reelected, I prefer Tom Horn's title, Apollyon. Who made the Zeus's, seat of Satan's model for his first announcement in Denver.
True.
With thunder, the Arabian horse in the stage in the Mile High Stadium there. All of this overtly satanic stuff that a Christian would spot pretty easily. A Christian who's spotting who would spot that would easily spot it because they're paying attention, because they're inspired at go to a place like the Hagmann report, or go online and do the research for themselves. But like your son was mentioning, there's a great deal of people out there who don't really know what's going on.
Very true. Yeah. But the more we talk, more the caller, I love it. I mean, callers like you, the information in which you provide, the more we talk about this. This is warranted because this is background for an ongoing investigation to find out what's taking place, what will be happening to us, what the motive is, what the means are.
Well, I suggest you go check out the NPI movie, The Nuclear Tipping Point, and I suggest you go and you look at, pay attention to what's going on in the Pete Peterson Institute, and pay attention to what's going on with all the people that are attending any of these meetings there. Like the Rothschilds.
Of course.
And because they show up there.
Very good. All right.
They're people who affect things at a level that you're looking for. To realize, how does the state of Israel get established through slaughter, and you have to have somebody banking off of that slaughter. And this isn't to say that God isn't obviously behind the effort to restore order, but you have to keep in mind that just because our Father in Christ defines something doesn't mean that how it evolves isn't related to people who are completely deceived and people who aren't really deceived, who are actually worshiping fallen angels and doing
right. Right. Yeah, and we have to be very careful because that's one issue there. I mean, we support Israel. We're 100% in support of Israel. Always have been, always will be. Citing, of course, the verse from Genesis. But we do understand that there is some, there's something that's beyond the spiritual.
The way I like to put it in perspective is you have a counterintelligence, global counterintelligence reality at the core of the New World Order, and at the core is if you really want to hold up a mirror to the offers that are being put forth in Israel or among all the nations, which you look to that Revelation, they're all out of order. Their offers are antichrist at the core.
The resolutions. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that everything in the Bible is true. Everything is coming true to this generation. There's no doubt about that. And how do you get to a point where your own country is betraying you, be it the United States or Israel? And if you look at the core, the root cause of it, it's the offer of the Antichrist. Right? They're going to deny Christ.
Very good. Very good. I understand it. That's a good way to put it, too, by the way. Yeah.
It's a simple way to do it. It's a real easy way. It's like, like Alex Jones, having some issues with Pierce Morgan and dare I say, idiots like that. The best way to deal with them is just put up a mirror in front of them. And, as far as their offer, what is their offer? Their offer is, in their case, dead children. A continuing of dead children. The offer, is it our Father in Christ, so life and light? No, it's death and darkness.
That's right.
So if you simply just put up the mirror image of what their offer is, it's easy to deal with these hellbound hosts that are completely unsealed.
Yeah.
Caller, I want to thank you for calling back in and talking as much as you did. We're up against the top of the hour break.
I got
appreciate
that. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, anytime. I as far as like talking about why I run into these kind of things, that would be something I would.
Well, I think we've got some pretty good insight into that, don't we, Joe?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay,
right.
Well, you're doing your work. All right, have a good one.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right.
Interesting.
You're listening to the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. I think we're going to try to do this without taking any callers on our end on Blog Talk for the third hour. We still have a lot of news we got to get into. Folks, this is January 21st, 2013. The second part of the Obama administration and what they're going to be carrying out. We have more information on that on the other side. You're listening to the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. We'll be right back.
If you're stumped, you don't know what kind of gift to give to a friend or a loved one, I'm telling you, you must go to 4physics.com. That's the numeral 4, PHYSICS.com. This is your one-stop shopping palace. That's the only way I can put it. I could spend easily an hour on this website. Innovative, fun, educational. There are games, books, weather instruments, unique time-telling devices, jewelry, optical devices, laboratory equipment. Let me give you an example. We all know we can tell time with a sundial. You've seen those advertised. Did you know that you could tell time by the stars? At 4physics.com, you can buy a horologium nocturnum. This was a navigational device used in the 15th century by navigators at night to tell time by the stars. It's beautifully crafted in the shape of a pendant made of bronze and pewter or gold and silver. Absolutely a stunning gift. I would be proud to give it to anyone. You must go to 4physics.com. Even if you're not stumped, that's 4physics. That's the numeral 4, PHYSICS.com. It's your one-stop shopping palace. Any problems that you have, I don't know what to get Grandpa, I don't know what to get my loved one, that's unique, you will find it at 4physics.com. Please take my word for it. Go to the website, but give yourself a lot of time because you're not going to want to leave. 4physics.com.
Folks, I want to tell you about a sponsor of ours, Granlund Firearms of British Columbia. That's Granlund Firearms of British Columbia. Now, you probably can't understand what I'm saying because I'm clogged up and I'm just it's hard to understand when I've got this head full of congestion. Anyway, Granlund Firearms, Carl Granlund and his wife operate a fantastic store. If you live up near British Columbia, Campbell's River, you've got to stop in and check them out. But they provide all the gear for hunters, the supplies for hunting, including new and used rifles, shotguns, a lot of brands too. The Mossberg, Marlin, Browning, Weatherby, Remington. If you're up in Canada and you're looking for any kind of supply for hunting or for survival gear or for whatever, stop in or just give them a call. Or better yet, visit their website. Go to HomelandSecurityUS.com. Click on the graphic on the right-hand side. It says Granlund Firearms, and pay them a visit on the Internet. And while you're there, I've got to tell you, folks, you've got to get a copy of their book. If you want a good, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a word. I had this in my hand this weekend as I was recovering, and it's called Treed Beyond the River, Cougar Hunting on Vancouver Island by Carl H. Granlund. What an interesting perspective. What an interesting, now I'm a hunter, but this kept me really interested. The various events, various activities, various descriptive, it's just a great book, folks, great book. It's called Treed Beyond the River, and that's by Carl H. Granlund. But, folks, stop in to GranlandFirearms.com. That's GranlandFirearms.com. Tell them Doug and Joe Hagmann sent you, but don't refer to this particular live read. Just tell them Doug and Joe Hagmann sent you.
Doug Hagmann. One guy that doesn't need a bullhorn to get your attention.
You want answers! I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our third and final hour of this Monday, January 21st, 2013 edition of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. I'm Joe Hagmann, my co-host. Back almost at 75% is Doug, and
yeah, you can do a recalculation on that. Not even close. But yeah, sorry for messing that up.
We have a big show coming up Wednesday for you guys that joined us late. We're going to have a show entitled Genetic Armageddon with Steve Quayle from 9 to midnight, Wednesday night, 23rd.
Genetic Armageddon. Did you say that? Or did...
Yes, Genetic Armageddon. Is it Genetic Armageddon Unleashed, or?
Genetic Armageddon has arrived.
Okay.
And wait until you see what's coming next.
Okay. I want to hit some news here. This is funny when you think of what Obama said today at the inauguration. Russia is moving to enact anti-gay law nationwide. Kissing his boyfriend during a protest in front of Russia's parliament earned Pavel Sembrov 30 hours of detention and the equivalent of a $16 fine or charge of hooliganism. But if the bill that comes up for the first vote later this month becomes law, such public kiss could be defined as illegal homosexual propaganda and bring a fine of up to $16,000. This legislation being pushed by the Kremlin and the Russian Orthodox Church would make it illegal nationwide to provide minors with information that is defined as propaganda of sodomy, lesbianism, bisexuality, and transgenderism. It includes a ban on holding public events that promote gay rights. St. Petersburg and a number of other Russian cities already have similar laws on the books. Now, what does it tell you when you have Russia acting more Christian than America?
You know, I wish Kathleen Keating was still around, accessible, because Kathleen would have a lot to say about this. Kathleen Keating, the author of a number of books. Offhand, I've got them all.
Can we trade like the movie Trading Places? Can we trade presidents? Or, I mean, I'd much rather have whatever his name is, the president here, if he's going along with the church, and that's his true intention behind this, and that's the real agenda behind this, to keep his nation morally okay, to keep it on the right track. I understand it's a different nation, communist nation per se, but you see something's right.
But people have to see where this is coming from. The progressives, the far left, they're so we're going to be tolerant of everyone. If you're a homosexual, fine. This is great. Let's celebrate your homosexuality. Now, you've got.
This goes on to say, and this might have something to do with it, lawmakers accuse gays of decreasing Russia's already low birth rates and said they should be barred from government jobs, undergo forced medical treatment, or be exiled.
Right. And that's the next step. Communists are not going to embrace homosexuals. They're not going to do it. If you think that they are, if you think that a communist, a one world order, new world order with a communist infrastructure is going to embrace homosexuals, or you're Tommy Two Tune out there. I guess I was irresponsible for me to say, but or if you're a homosexual believing that the communist model will allow you to exist in that system, it's not going to. And so you can see it happening. Russia's talking against homosexuality now. I mean, we're not.
But why? I mean, it bothers me that they are, and it doesn't seem genuine, other than maybe they consider it a public nuisance or some type of problem to their ability to. I mean, I see how they would come against it being, the majority goes the state. It's the state that is the number one thing in Russia, so they need families to produce kids so they can keep producing. I can see that angle of it, but I don't buy the religion thing necessarily. The angle that they're saying No. They're not going to be tolerant of any other's religion or any other anything but heterosexuality. Yeah, look at the communist model, and they're just a little further advanced than we are right now in terms of where look at the communist model where they're at. This is the move to the one world global governance where homosexuality is not going to be tolerated. Sorry, Anderson Cooper, but for the very people you stick up for, they're going to be responsible for coming after you. But yeah, I understand what you're saying, though. Yeah, I mean it's
Russia. Come on, really?
Yeah, it's a time to move. I mean, we see what's going on, and our nation embraces homosexuality in a way that no other nation that does or has, really, except maybe in old biblical times, like Sodom and Gomorrah, where they do it openly, and that was the charge of their crimes, was the strange fornication and the unnatural fornication. That's why they were destroyed, and we're there, in my opinion. As a nation, the people, they don't. It's not about getting married. If people choose to be homosexual, that's their choice, and they're turning their back on what the word of the Lord says. You can't stop people from doing that, but you can't. What they're doing is taking it a step further and saying, well, we're going to change the definition of marriage from a man to a woman to two persons. And we're going to make churches who don't believe in it or believe that it's evil perform these marriages, or else they're going to, be shut down. And I mean, it's this whole they're trying to change the culture. They have changed the culture to a point where they've normalized homosexuality in America, and that's one of the communist infiltration goals.
Well, it's 100% correct. They're redefining marriage instead of reinforcing marriage.
Right. I wanted to hit this piece of news. The Trans-Pacific Partnership trade agreement is a top priority for the second Obama administration. With just 2 months until the next 16th round of negotiations of the Trans-Pacific Partnership being in Singapore, supporters of the named free trade agreement are ratcheting up their number of reporters favorably promoting the formation of the regional trade bloc. In an article published by World Politics Review, for example, Edward Alden writes that the Obama administration's acceptance and acceleration of the TPP is the biggest swerve away from a global Great Depression. Alden writes, the global financial crisis of 2008 and the recession that followed produced the first steep decline in world trade since the Great Depression, yet rather than falling down, the United States and other countries have managed to swerve and keep going. The biggest swerve was the embrace of regional trade liberations, starting with Asia. Identifying the TPP as the president's top trade priority, Alden suggests the embrace of regional trade liberalization will keep the United States from falling down the steep decline towards economic devastation. Then, those unfamiliar with the hows and whys of this Trans-Pacific Partnership, the Pearson Institute for International Economics has published a monograph by Jeff Schultz, Barbara Kotzvar, and another lady named Julie, aimed at unraveling the complicated trade deal by providing a reader's guide to the TPP initiative. And it says how like are the countries. One means a comparison shows an otherwise uncrossable chasm between several of these countries that want to get involved in this deal. Below are the gross domestic products and world rankings of 2011 as reported by the IMF. The United States ranks first with a GDP of over $15 trillion. Canada second at 1.7, Australia 1.5, Mexico 1.2, and then it goes into Malaysia, Singapore, Chile, Peru, New Zealand, Vietnam, and Brunei. It says the math doesn't lie. The total GDP of the 10 other countries equal roughly 1/3 of that of the United States. A relevant question is whether the partnership of these countries will result in a strengthening of their economies and a weakening of ours. Admittedly, a country's GDP is one of many relevant metrics that could be used to compare relative global economic position. The irrefutable fact, however, is that when looking at just that, it is evident that the Obama administration is somehow willing to lie or to tie the economic prosperity of the United States to much weaker countries. And it goes on from there. And we know about the North.
Well, we can't look. This did not start with Obama. This began under Bush.
This began under the Kissingers, Brzezinskis, the founders of these international bodies that create policy for the leading countries of the world. But, and I mean, what they are doing is they're like the NAFTA. They said what it would strengthen our economy so much. What did it do? It got all these jobs shipped out of our country.
Exactly.
What are they doing now? Jeep and Chrysler are getting all these bailouts and loans and money from the Federal Reserve to build factories in China. It's not helping the American job situation. It hasn't improved since Obama took office. Nothing has improved since Obama took office. Nothing will improve as long as he is in office. And whether it's guns, or the economy, our free speech, our privacy, everything's going to get worse as long as this man and those Satanists behind him continue to push this agenda. And it's not going to stop. Nothing Obama can do will get him thrown out of there, impeached, put on trial. We're headed on a crash course to internationalism enforced by a loving humanitarian United Nations that will come into your town like they just did in Brazil and put a gun to your head and tell you have to leave. And if you don't, well, you'll be dead. And that's what they're planning on doing. And they're doing it at the expense of their own people, which is us. And it is very wrong. But who's going to stop it? How can it be stopped? It's absolutely crazy. Then we get into the United States and the West facing decades of conflict in North Africa. I mean, how many enemies can we create to the point where people are going to sit back and say, yes, we need 20 years of war in North Africa? I mean, what justification do you even have to be there in the first place? You overthrew the governments. You created the problem. Now you're saying you need 10 years, 20 years of war to fix it? It is just beyond the comprehension of a normal person who works every day and comes home to watch Fox News or MSNBC or whatever their, political allegiances lie news agency, and they just don't understand what is going to happen. I'm going to play a clip here. I don't know why this was aired on Bill O'Reilly or why he was allowed to say it, or he might have been told to say it, but he said it, and it's about the dollar collapse, and this is what he says.
Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly reporting tonight from South Florida. Thanks for watching us. Are we the people responsible for the chaos that is enveloping America? That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. The folks are indeed responsible for the government they get. Germans could have thrown Hitler out. They did not. Russians fought hard for Stalin. The Chinese surrendered to Mao. The Cubans allowed Fidel Castro to take away their liberty. The folks are responsible. And now Americans are faced with a citizen challenge, not at the levels of totalitarianism, but a very serious economic situation. Yesterday, the Government Accountability Office, the nonpartisan investigative arm of Congress, released its annual audit of the U.S. government. The report covers the fiscal years 2011 and 12. The conclusion of the report is this, quote, absent policy changes, the federal government continues to face an unsustainable fiscal path. Let me repeat that. Absent policy changes, the federal government continues to face an unsustainable fiscal path. If the feds do not stop the wild spending and do not reform Medicare and Social Security, the U.S. dollar will collapse. That means that all of our savings, all of our investments, our homes, and everything else will blow up before our eyes. Now, chances are you will not hear about the GAO's report today, except on this program. The liberal media will not tell you what is going on. The reason? President Obama does not want to cut federal spending or reform entitlements. That is crystal clear. And the media loves President Obama. So the folks be damned. This is like telling people standing on a beach, hey, a tsunami's coming, and if you don't move, you're going to be killed. But the beach folks say, I like it here. I'm not moving. And then eventually the wave sweeps them away. That's exactly what's happening now. We're living in a country that's polarized. We're also living in a country that is becoming addicted to machines, the internet. We discussed that last night. Many American citizens, perhaps most, are now too lazy to pay attention to their country. They're selfish, caught up in individual pursuits. Thus, the federal government has been allowed by we the people to get out of control. Last year, the Fed spent $1.1 trillion more than the government took in. That is grossly irresponsible. The debt now approaching $17 trillion. President Obama, the biggest spending chief executive in history. So, I have to play Paul Revere here. I have to continue to tell you the truth. But I also believe many Americans simply will not listen. And even worse, they are not smart enough to even care. Disaster could be coming.
Okay. Paul, I gotta tell you something. Okay. Well, how disingenuous is that man to
it's
say?
Disgusting.
He said it's like. I guess he compared himself, or saying, "Hey, there's a tsunami coming," and people saying, "I don't care." Right?
He's got to be the Paul Revere.
But see, here's the thing. At every turn, every step of the way, Bill O'Reilly, you did not allow for any questioning of the pedigree of Barack Hussein Obama. Not once did you question his identity. Not once did you question his, lineage or his eligibility.
Yeah, nor 9/11, nor the Patriot Act, nor the taking away of people's rights. He's been a gatekeeper of the media, and he always has been. This is no different. My question is, the reason I played that audio is, why was he allowed to say it, and who told him to say it? He was obviously told to say it, as he is most things that are anything newsworthy. And he's told what not to say, definitely. So why was that allowed to air? Was that a warning, or was that a fear move?
No, I think the dollar is going to tank. I mean, it's a mathematical certainty.
Right.
But
we know that.
Sustained.
And people who watch Fox probably know that. I would hope so.
But now you've got the people who just watch O'Reilly, okay? And, his form of liberalism, which is liberalism light. I wouldn't even call it conservatism. It's just liberalism light.
I'd rather watch Styrofoam disintegrate. I mean, it's crazy that these people still listen to this stuff. I got to be the Paul Revere here. No, you should shut up and do what you're told to do, and that's all you do.
Where was he 4.5, 5 years ago when the issues were being brought up? He was busy marginalizing and really taking people like Orly Tates to task, love her or hate her. Look, she was out doing a job. Various other people he wouldn't give the time of day to about the Obama eligibility issue. And like you mentioned too, look at all of the conspiracies, if you will.
Yeah, nobody wants to ask questions unless it happens to benefit their side of the political aisle they're paid to be on, or especially in the media. It's all controlled either way, especially on the mainstream, from Hannity to O'Reilly to Schultz to Maddow to Beck to any one of these people who are out there, really coming after people who ask questions. And when you see that, when people are asking normal questions and getting, they will go on their shows, ask normal questions to these people, get mocked, name-called, ridiculed, marginalized, these people are paid to do what they're doing, are paid to say what they're saying.
The questions were never answered. Exactly. No, you're right. You mentioned Rachel Maddow, and I don't know if I had mentioned this on an earlier program. I think it was last week sometime. I happened to catch her program where she was talking about the Obama's gun plan, and specifically she was talking about these evil black weapons, these assault weapons, murdering our children, and what an affront.
Like they got loose from the zoo?
Pretty much, right. That would be that anyone who could possibly entertain the thought of allowing possession of these evil black rifles, these assault weapons, they're incredibly. She was really anti-gun ownership, of course.
Of course.
But what got me at the same time was in the corner and throughout the broadcast, I think it was that day or the day before, I don't know, maybe the week, was the happy anniversary Roe v. Wade.
Oh, yeah. Just like Mr. Andrew Cuomo last week. And I don't know if you heard about that, what he did with abortion, what he made or is trying to push through some of the most comprehensive abortion legislation in New York history.
Okay.
And he's a Catholic. And he's against guns killing children, right? So these people
I get you. Yeah.
use children,
right,
to pass their political agenda, at the same time advocate for the murder of those same children who just haven't come out of the womb yet.
Right.
It is complete, like I said, the disconnect. And for the people who don't understand it, I mean, open something. What is it going to take? If you can't see, this is the article, Andrew Cuomo's Brave New Roe. New York State's Catholic governor pushes on-demand abortion legislation that, if not enforced, would put Catholic hospitals and many state-funded ministries out of business. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is flexing his political muscles to give abortion advocates their biggest state victory in 40 years since Roe v. Wade, a sweeping expansion of abortion law that, if enforced, could put Catholic hospitals and many state-funded ministries out of business. Cuomo's approval ratings have topped 70% for 6 straight months, and with just 2 years in office, he's already passed through the most controversial same-sex marriage legislation and the most restrictive gun control laws in the nation. Cuomo, who is a Catholic, now is setting his sights on succeeding where governors in the past 6 years have failed, passing the proposed Reproductive Health Care Act.
See, what a nice sounding name. It almost sounds like reproductive healthcare.
And if you are anti-abortion, you're anti-women's reproductive rights. It is the most blatant double talk, hypocrisy, lying, slimy, garbage men that these people are. How do they get away with this? How are they not hung for treason in their own state capitals by the people who work under them? I don't understand it. Where are the sheriffs that sit in these meetings and protect these people? Don't they sit there and sit back and say, are you serious? You want to ban guns because to save the children, but you want to push through legislation that kills lots of children? Doesn't make sense, Governor. You're starting to sound irrational. I'm going to have to take you in. Where are these people who will stand up for this country and stand up for the unborn?
This governor would sign, well, not in New York State, but somebody shoots a pregnant woman, say 6, 7.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. 2 murders.
2 murders, right?
Yeah, they'll count a 6-week-old fetus who gets killed inside of a woman who was shot to death. 2 murders.
Right.
At the same time, 3rd-term abortion, no problem.
So
it's infanticide or whatever.
No, what
happens?
Abortion. Now here's a question we need to really entertain here. What would happen if, because of the social policies of these erratic social policies, you have picture this now. You've got this high school in the state of New York, and in one of the classes, let's say it's a senior. We'll say it's a senior chemistry class. And let's see, in the senior chemistry class in this high school in Governor Cuomo's state of New York, you've got 6 teenage girls that are pregnant because, of course, it's favored. And somebody walks in with an assault weapon and shoots 6 women or 6 girls that are pregnant.
What, all the girls lived and the babies died?
No, I'm just thinking, well, no, wait. No, it's okay, so it really shouldn't be that big of a problem, right? I mean, especially if the 6 were going, right, we'll say they had appointments for abortion.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so wait.
They just did the state's work and saving money.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm really getting the absurd part of this, the absurdity to this.
I mean, it really, it makes me real mad to go through this, and I'm reading article after article ahead of the ones I already I'm talking about, and sure, I'm just going to take it a step further. Obama talking about one of the main goals he's going to put on center stage is climate control. The most prominent policy vow in his second inaugural address is setting in motion what Democrats say will deliberately be paced but aggressive campaign built around the use of his exercise power to sidestep congressional opposition. We will respond to the threat of climate change, knowing that the failure to do so would betray our children and future generations. Mr. Obama said Monday night at the start of the 8 sentences on the subject, more than he devoted to any other specific area. Some may still deny the overwhelming judgment of science, but none can avoid the devastating impact of raging fires and crippling drought and more powerful storms. It goes on to say that Obama is going to be working with the centerpiece of the Environmental Protection Agency to clamp down on further emissions from coal-burning power plants under regulations that still are drafted and likely to draw legal challenges. The administration plans to supplement that step by adopting new energy efficiency standards for home appliances and buildings, a seemingly small advance that can have a substantial impact on reducing a demand for electricity. Those would echo the sharp increase in fuel economy that the administration required from automakers in the first term. The Pentagon, one of the country's largest energy users, is also taking strides toward cutting the use and converting to renewable fuels. What are they trying to save the planet for? For all the kids they want dead? So clean places to bury the bodies?
No.
Do they really care about the environment? No. This has to do with government, another government agency, the Environmental Protection Agency, who's already been using drones to spy on farmers, giving power to Monsanto to where you can't even get organic milk or food in some parts of the world or country anymore. You can't decide what you eat anymore. The government decides that you're going to eat poisoned, sterilized crops. And if you don't like it, well, you go to jail.
Now, and this is something, Joe, I want to get into. I want to take a program and really get into this, and maybe more than one program.
Well, I want to take
about the GMO, about the genetically modified foods. When I was at the store last week, I was looking at the labeling for GMO labeling, and I was as a matter of fact, I was in the Whole Food Co-op store. First time ever I was in that store, and I asked about the genetically modified, the GMO labeling, And the woman said that they're fighting, that sometimes you can't tell. You won't be able to tell by looking at a label. For example, seeds. And I'm new at, I'm not very adept at like making my own peanut butter. You go to the co-op store and you can make your own peanut butter. I've never seen that before, but she said normally if the product is from a local farm, we're able to tell if we know what kind of seed it is and if it's genetically modified or altered in any way. But there's such a fight going against the identification of this. So I want to find out who's behind the fight. Well, we know, I'm sure, but let's get into that a little bit more.
This is not to save the environment. They go on to say, the approach is a turnabout from the first term. Surprise! When Obama's guideline principle was trying to pass the cap-and-trade bill, with the bill that wasn't a negotiated legislative solution, was likely to be more politically palatable than regulations by executive fiat. Now there is a broad exemption that he will follow up with his first big use of the EPA's power to rein in emissions. Proposed rules last year for new power plants, with a plan to crack down on emissions from exiting power plants or existing power plants. And it doesn't just stop at power plants. It doesn't just stop at your car emissions. It doesn't just stop at your breathing emissions, okay? They are going to pass a breathing tax. I mean, these people are insane, and I might sound angry. I am, and I'm keeping it cool, but just to see what's coming, I mean, so fast. His second term, boom, he's sworn in. All right, this is what I'm going to do. Everything I said before, forget it. Now I'm going right for your throats. And you're not going to do anything about it, and sit down and shut up, or you're an extremist terrorist, and we'll disappear you.
So at which point, where's the tipping point for the American public now? Now, when we get...
If it were me, I'm past my tipping point.
Well...
But I can still maintain a calm and collected mindset, knowing I have the Lord as my protection.
Okay, Bill O'Reilly. Wait a second. Bill O'Reilly's okay with the lack of documentation on. Well, let's just say Bill O'Reilly's the average person in America. Okay, I'm not just to say he is. He's okay with the lack of documentation on Barack Hussein Obama. He's okay with the sexual assaults at the airports. He's okay with...
He's okay being charged with sexual harassment. He had his staffer, he settled the lawsuit for sexual harassment.
That's true.
And I remember this after he went after some entertainer because they were going to be a Pepsi advertiser, and they said it would put a bad label on Pepsi. At the same, like right after that happened, he gets in trouble for the sexual assault scandal. But he's still working there, you know.
Well,
because he's effective at reaching the idiot people that listen to him, like he's Obama and they're his supporters, or like I'm not even going to make the other comparison. It's just disgusting. They know what they're doing. They have this media complex set up. They know what they are doing. Bill O'Reilly has the highest ratings out of all the dumb talk shows on any of the major networks. So he's obviously doing something. I don't know what it is. Maybe they hypnotize people during commercials. I don't know. But he has the majority of Americans, you know, if you would bring these issues, do you support abortion? Do you support gun control? Well, why do you support the saving of, you know, why do you support gun control for the, you know, to save people's lives but advocate the murder of other lives? People would probably have a brain meltdown and die right there from just the thought of having to think of how to justify or rationalize that. I mean, it's I don't understand how more people aren't eyes wide open, seeing what's going on and scared out of their minds for this country.
Well, it's a good point. I just want to deliver, I just have this one thing to say, too. It seems like a non sequitur here, but it's not. You know, we were talking about the globalist agenda. You're talking about the people like O'Reilly, and there's other people like Joe Scarborough, for example. Morning Joe, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The one with the dead staffer.
Yeah. Lori Klazutis. Remember that, Joe? Remember her? How many people out there remember the 28-year-old girl that was found in the office of, at that time, Representative Joe Scarborough from Florida? Okay, I want to know. I want to know. Now, of course, the autopsy findings, the medical examiner's office said, no, there's no indication of foul play or suicide. Everyone dropped the story. That was August of...
He dropped his position.
Right.
He quit.
And of course, no one's asking questions about what happened here. And we have other deaths from... Now, at that time, too, the same time, too, was Gary Condit. I'm trying to think of her name. Joe, help me out here. What was her name?
I don't know.
Who?
Which one?
Gary Condit.
Ashley Turton?
No. This goes back into 2000 or 2001 as well. That disappeared.
No, I'm not.
Okay. Anyway, I'm not 100%.
Senator Wolfowitz in his plane crash. Do you remember the talk about a Democratic senator?
You mean Wellstone?
Or Wellstone, yeah. Well, who did I say? Wolfowitz? Yeah, that's the neocon PNAC person. Yeah, Wellstone. He was died in a mysterious plane crash after coming out against Bush, where they said they were, they better be careful. People might die. I mean, we have a mafia worse than a mafia-style government. I mean, and what makes it even worse than that is the people refuse. I mean, what are these Catholic institutions in New York going to do? Are they going to let this happen with Cuomo? Are they going to let him push through? I mean, what he is proposing, late-term abortions, green light. Cuomo's bill removes criminal penalties for third trimester abortions by adding a broad health exception. Current state law allows such late-term abortions if there is only a danger to the mother. Chris Slattery, director of the Expectant Mother Care Pregnancy Center in New York City, said the new law will make New York City late-term abortion capital of the world. It's going to open up a third trimester market. It's going to be huge. People all over the world, not just in our state, are going to be coming to New York to have these late-term abortions.
Oh, man. I'm not going to put the link up. I don't have the link.
A Catholic?
Yeah. Joe, I'm not going to put the link up, but there's a link to surgery being done on I don't know, I think it was 8 months, 7-month-old. Folks, you might have seen it. It's a slideshow where the surgeon is actually operating in utero to remove, I believe it was either a growth or something off of the, I think it was the mouth of this infant, this unborn child. And at that age, maybe it was 6 months, but at that age you could see the baby's hand and little fingers that were not really 100% formed yet, grabbing at the instrument that was being used to take the growth off. And I thought, wow, I mean, think about that. Obviously, that was being done for a legitimate purpose to remove a growth, but this is what, folks, think about what these people, and they know this. In their minds, they know that this is horrific blood sacrifice, yet they're okay with that. And Cuomo, and you're okay, I'm okay with you, and the rant against Cuomo,
somebody needs to bump him into the river and
really
start floating to a different nation. I mean, look at there's some good news here. Alabama Supreme Court recognizes unborn as children. The decision could have significant implications in ending abortions in the U.S., according to pro-life advocates. I doubt that. That's what the headline says. Alabama Supreme Court decision recognizing the unborn as persons deserving of legal protections could have significant implications in ending abortions in the U.S., say pro-life advocates. The Alabama Supreme Court has dealt a massive blow to the constitutional fraud of Roe versus Wade by recognizing that a preborn child is a person, said the Personhood USA legal analysis Gualberto Garcia Jones in a statement. On January 11th, the Alabama High Court ruled that an unborn child is protected by the state's chemical engagement law. The case involved two women who placed their unborn child at risk through the use of illegal drugs during a pregnancy. One of the women acknowledged that she had smoked methamphetamines 3 days before her son was born prematurely. The child died 19 minutes later of acute methamphetamine intoxication. Under Alabama law, it's a crime to chemically endanger a child by exposing him or her to a controlled substance. The woman's attorney argued that the chemical endangerment law does not apply to unborn children. However, the court disagreed, observing the only major area in which unborn children are denied legal protection is abortion.
So, I guess what we could say here is this is the cornerstone, not the capstone, the cornerstone of our schizophrenia, of our political schizophrenia, our spiritual schizophrenia. It's okay to kill, late-term unborn children, or any unborn child.
No, it's okay to kill anybody.
No, not with the evil black rifle. You can't. No,
that's what they really want, but they just don't say as much. They try to ban it. I mean, look at prohibition, look at banning of drugs. That's really stopped drug use in this country, as it sucks in most of the drugs of the world. It's prohibition. What did it do? It made the criminals lots of money, along with the governments who were getting, part of that. Why are we in Afghanistan? The heroin production's been up every single year since we went there. And where does that go? It comes right back here. These people are hypocrites. They have no value of human life. They have no value of the Constitution. They have no value of the Bible. The only thing they value is how to suck money and destroy people and their souls.
Unbelievable.
That's where their value comes in. That's where they get their energy from.
Right.
And it's disgusting. And taxpayers are paying for these abortions unwillingly. So do we have to stop paying taxes? Maybe. I mean, these people need a slap in the face like nobody ever in history has. And how can you deliver it? Not a literal slap, but how can you hit them where it hurts without doing anything illegal or anything by non-compliance? And it might be illegal in their mind, even though it's not illegal really under the Constitution. What can we do to stop this craziness from continuing?
Well, and this is something I wanted to get into. Actually, I wanted to really have prepared for this week, and something we mentioned last week was, getting together on the proactive side, getting people together for educational purposes, talk show hosts, what have you, to really.
No, I agree. That does serve a purpose, and it helps educate more people. But we got to think in real life, not just talking.
No, yeah.
We take to shut Andrew Cuomo's mouth and his ability to create or pass laws in his state, along with any other person who advocates abortion or the killing of babies with one side of their mouth, while saying we need to save the children, so let's ban guns with the other side.
You're attempting to fix a spiritual problem with a political solution, like Steve Quayle says. You can't do that.
I'm not going to answer that because that's not where my mind is right now.
You're in a bad place then, right?
Yeah, I'm getting kind of angry that they're going through all this stuff and reading. I mean, just the stuff that keeps coming out of the inauguration and the things that Obama keeps saying. I was going to name the show Obama Unhinged or Obama 2.0 Unhinged, because I know this is what's coming. It doesn't matter what the people think of them. He could have a 0% rating. He's still going to do what he's going to do.
Watch the State of the Union address. That's when things are really going to take off. Now we saw the inaugural address today. Some inroads were made, like you mentioned. the reference to gay brothers and sisters. Watch what happens. Watch the contents of the State of the Union. I guarantee you the agenda will be much clearer by then. I believe that, what is that, February 10th?
No, I think they did it for what's Lincoln's birthday?
I don't know.
I think they made it on Lincoln's birthday, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong.
Once again, we have to, there's something not right with that. I keep saying stuff like that, but I really think we have to take a look at the reason for these dates, these times, these locations, these events. So Lincoln's birthday. Is that what for this? I thought the State of the Union was actually. I'll
find out right now.
Required by law. It was a date required by law. I could be wrong, but it's okay. Yeah, if you can help me.
Okay, 2 days ago, State of the Union, CNN. Let's see what they had to say. Okay. All right, next 4 years, State of the Union. This is from yesterday. Former Democratic Senator Russ Feingold and Newt Gingrich are in this video together giving an analysis of Obama's next 4 years. And I don't see a reference to a date. I don't know if anybody in chat hasn't put up an answer there for the State of the Union, February 12th. Lincoln's birthday is February 12th. Okay. So we know that Lincoln's birthday is February 12th. And I guess State of the Union 2013 date will probably be February 12th. February 12th, 2013. State of the Union.
Okay.
Surprise.
Like I said, is this in quotation marks coincidental? The date. In other words, I believe the State of the Union address is to be delivered by the President of the United States on a certain date. All right?
Well, there's a Wikipedia page about it, but it was last modified on January 7th, so they probably changed whatever.
Well, I don't. Yeah. But that said, did this year's State of the Union address happen to fall on Lincoln's birthday? Let's see here. Well, okay, when all right, Reagan was the only. Okay, here it says here. Ronald Reagan was the only president to have postponed his State of the Union address on January 28th, 1986. He planned to give his address, but after learning of the space shuttle challenge or disaster, he postponed it for a week.
I thought the State of the Union, if I remember correctly, was supposed to be like the last Monday or Tuesday of the month. I could be wrong.
I don't.
But yeah, there's a lot we need to look into with this Lincoln connection because obviously, if he wants to liken himself so much to Lincoln, there is something there, and it's not him alone. Here we go. U.S. State of the Union 2013, Capitol Complex. The U.S. President presents his annual State of the Union address to the Congress. This year, President Obama picked the day of Abraham Lincoln's birthday for his special speech. According to the White House press secretary, 2013 speech is an opportunity for Barack Obama to outline his proposal for immigration reform. According to Article 2, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution, the President shall, from time to time, give Congress information of the State of the Union and recommend to the consideration such measures as he shall judge necessary and expedient. The address has become one of the main forms of communication between the President and U.S. citizens. Since the invention of radio and television, the speech has been broadcast live on most networks in the country. The first regular messages to the Congress were delivered by George Washington on January 8, 1790. 4 years, the speech was called the President's Annual Message to Congress, but the name changed officially in 1947 with Franklin D. Roosevelt was the first to use the current name in 1934.
All right, that didn't tell me anything.
No, that was just a basic thing. This article here from Chicago, Obama to deliver State of the Union on Lincoln's birthday from January 14th, says every president wants to associate himself with Abraham Lincoln, especially now that he is a firm star At Sunday night's Golden Globes, Bill Clinton introduced a clip from the movie Lincoln. And next month, President Obama will deliver his State of the Union address on February 12th, Lincoln's birthday. The idea actually originated with House Speaker John Boehner. Every year, the Speaker invites the President to address the joint session of Congress. Boehner sent this message to Obama. Our nation continues to face immense challenges, and the American people expect us to work together in the new year to find meaningful solutions. Speaker Boehner writes in a letter to Obama inviting him to deliver the address. This will require a willingness to seek a common ground as well as a presidential leadership. For that reason, the Congress and the nation would welcome an opportunity to hear your plan and specific solutions for addressing America's great challenges. Therefore, it is my privilege to invite you to speak before a joint session of Congress on February 12, 2013 in the House chamber of the U.S. Capitol building.
Right. So Boehner is the one that said, all right, you should do it on that date.
Well, we can only hope that. I don't know. What's it going to be? It's going to take an act of the Lord to get rid of this evil. Obviously, if we try, if we even talk about it like we are now, we're enemies, considered terrorists. If people tried to march on Washington, I have no doubt they would be drone striked. They would be the easiest targets. You put together 5-10 million patriots who just want constitutional rule, and you get them together. That's one of the easiest ways to get rid of them. As sad as that sounds, it's realistic how they think. It is going to take more than, like Steve says, there's no political solution. It's going to take more than what we can do. It's going to take us to rely on God and to ask Him to take action, whatever is necessary, and to guide us with His actions.
Right.
And I don't see any other way around it.
Sadly, I don't either. I mean, sadly, to the extent that we've allowed it to go this far. I think what we really need to do at this point is decide what we're going to do when things break loose. We're going to have to make some very difficult decisions in the short term, and this is something I would recommend talking to your family about. When the knock on the door comes, when you are going to be required to register your firearm.
All bets are off then.
Well, I certainly,
for most people.
Well, I would hope that to be the case, because we know what happens. Central registration leads to confiscation and genocide.
Going back to the 23 executive actions and orders taken by Obama on this gun registration, the article back to the Natural News states, so now the stroke of a pen, Obama has transformed the entire industry of modern psychiatry into the thought police with Judge Dredd-like authority over your life. No judge, no jury, no due process. You're guilty by decree.
Joe, wait a second. Didn't my DHS insider guy, didn't he say something about using the, didn't we have some information about using the Obamacare or the healthcare system to go after our guns long before the shooting in Newtown?
Yeah, we talked about, he said the Civil War was coming and there was going to be plans that could change, if I remember correctly, on ways
specifically about
starting.
But about the guns, because I think we have, going back to look at the DHS insider, I think a lot of what he said was absolutely true. I think the timing was off a bit, but I also think that I have to go back and look. But I also believe he stated that the gun grab, if you will, is going to be carried out through via the healthcare system, and of course, what's the enforcement of the healthcare system? It would be the IRS agents, right?
Yeah. The CDC, the health agencies, the individual doctors. And it ends with this. America has entered a phase of runaway delusional insanity. And remember, they put the psychiatrist in charge. If this isn't the epitome of putting the medical patients in charge of the insane asylum, nothing is. And that's an accurate statement. Folks, we reached the end of the program. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us tonight. Tomorrow night we will be back here live 8 o'clock. And Wednesday night, a special show with Steve Quayle, Genetic Armageddon. And that will be from 9 to midnight. God bless each and every one of you for being with us tonight. We're sorry about the phone problems. I hope it gets better tomorrow. And if it doesn't, we will rip the phones out and put new ones in, even if it means driving the block servers. No, I don't mean at our end.
Oh yeah. We've done so much to try, but I want to thank you guys for putting up with my nasally sound and my
ranting.
Yeah, that's true.
God bless each and every one of you. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a good night.
Good night.